Welcome once again to the world below. Thank you so much, everybody who has decided to tune in live, and thank you to everyone who decides to tune in after the fact, because this video will, of course, end up in our Twitch channel archives, but also over on YouTube, hopefully to help promote the World Below Backer Kit, which, as of time of recording, has not only funded, if not funded in about 48 hours, which is pretty damn good. We have also surpassed $40,000, which is over 10,000 more than our intended target. So yeah, no room for complaint there. But that doesn't mean there's not still room to build up more momentum and build up more backing. We are hitting stretch goals pretty much every other day right now. If this momentum continues, we should be able to hit a few more. Right now, we are aiming for some digital wallpaper and, most excitingly, some monster cards. You know, you can play cards to hurl all kinds of hellish random encounters at your players, which I'm sure everyone would like doing. Well, maybe not the players, the story guides will anyway. Makes your life a lot easier if you have everything condensed into lovely card formats. That's what I find with They Came From anyway, and it seems to bear out. That isn't the only reason we're doing this stream, though. We're not just doing it to promote the world below. We are also promoting the Make-A-Wish gaming campaign that is taking place right now. I believe we have a, there we go, Roll for Wishes link that is in the Twitch chat right now. It is donate.tiltify.com /@the-onyx-path/roll-for-wishes. I know it's a bit of a mouthful. If you're watching this on Twitch, it will all be there. I'll make sure it also gets added to the video description on YouTube. And I think most people in the world are at this point aware of what Make the Wishes is all about. It helps people who are suffering or, well, struggling or otherwise enduring terminal conditions. And any money raised for people in that situation is, frankly, money well raised. So if you can donate anything whatsoever to someone connected to Make-A-Wish via this link, whether it's $5, $10, $20, $100, however much you can donate is hugely appreciated. This money goes to a lot of valuable causes, whether it is simply buying leisure activity for people or going towards medical equipment for people. All of this material goes via Make-A-Wish as a campaign, so please do consider giving it your support. Now, I will be mentioning that a few times during this game session, so if you miss it now, I will get back to it. But before we go on about where you can send your money further, let's talk a little about the world below. Some of you are already going to be aware of it. We've ran more than one stream already, and there's all kinds of actual plays going out right now. But it is a subterranean fantasy role-playing game set in the vast underneath. The surface world is no more, or certainly it is not a world you wish to visit, because of all the social media, as we ascertained before we started streaming. So everyone descended into the world below to escape that hell on earth and formed a new civilization, or several civilizations. These civilizations known as settlements that are split across different guilds, different dogma, different belief, different ancestries, different cultures, all kinds of different things might form the settlement that you encounter throughout the many strata of the world below. But it isn't just survivors that live in this world. There are also people who lived here before the survivors descended. Some of them are indeed people. Some of them are, however, incredibly monstrous. There are beasts, there are bugs, there are parasites, there are fungi that would much rather you weren't here. Some of them are being played. And by players in this group, as you may be able to tell, from the mushroom cap, the toadstool cap, among us right now. But the world below is an inherently hostile place. There are parts of it, there are places, there are seasons, there are people you can go to for a sense of calm, a sense of belonging, a place where you can rest every now and then, but most of the time it's a place you will struggle. You'll need to explore, you'll need to excavate, you'll need to slay, you'll need to accumulate resources, and before the chaos storms raging through the world below get too dire, you will need to retreat to your settlement and find sanctuary. During that time, you will build your walls, you will form families, relationships, friendships, play games, do all the kinds of things people do when the weather outside is truly awful. And when that chaos storm dies down and the monstrous onslaught has ebbed away, you will exit again to see how the world below around you has changed. Our characters in this session, two of them are going to be very much familiar to anyone who watched our last Make-A-Wish stream. And two will be brand new. So let's go through each of them right now, because this time every character is starting in the same place. So I'm going to work from left to right as I see the people in my little Zoom window. So let's start with you, Victoria. Victoria of the Hat. Who are you playing as in this game of the world below?
Okay, so my character is called Chiara of Chisel. She's from the settlement of Chisel. She's an elf. She's a myceli, which means she grows mushrooms out of her head. Um, and the most important thing to know about her is that she's a member of the Hades Tract. The Hades Tract is a dogma. Its followers believe that the world below is not really real. It's like an afterlife. Everyone in it is dead, and the world above is where the real living world is. But I take it one step further because I believe that when you die in the world below, you're reincarnated in the world above. So because of that, I like to go around liberating troublemakers and bad guys from the world below so they can be reborn in the world above as better people.
So you're serving the community in a sense. You know, you're removing the bad apples from the batch and giving them a new chance to live a better life.
Exactly. I'm not a serial killer.
Well, that is always reassuring. I like it when someone tells me that specifically, especially when it's one of the first things they've said to me. I always feel immensely reassured. Okay, and Chiara, you are, of course, traveling as one of the Chilzil. You move around the world below quite a lot. They have no fixed settlement. How do you think, without even knowing these other characters, so you may have to do a little bit of stretching here, how do you think you came into contact with these three? You don't know who you're playing with, so come up with something.
I like to go around. I consider myself a traveling monk. I preach the Hades Tract to whoever will listen to me. So maybe I met these people and I preached to them, and they were like, eh. But then I killed someone who was really bothering them, and they were like, yay.
Yeah, I mean, you did a service, you performed a duty, and you can't say fairer than that. So, before we leave off, Victoria, I know I mentioned this in the last stream, but I'll say it again. A lot of streams leave it until the last few minutes for people if they want to promote anything, if they want to point people anywhere. I like to do that early on so that people can't just switch off. So, Victoria, is there anything anyone should be looking at right now if they want to support you or support a project you're particularly keen on? It doesn't have to be Onyx Path related, though, of course it can be.
Not really. I'm a software engineer. I write code, and I'm happy with that because it lets me stay off social media.
Yep. Well, as we are ascertaining, social media is the real blight of the world above. And we can be very glad that the world below does not have it. So now let's move on to Travis. Travis, you were in our previous game of the world below.
That is correct.
And yes, and you are returning as the same character who miraculously, I mean, against all odds, let's be clear, managed to escape that collapse of the settlement you were in. Can you remind our viewers who it is that you're playing?
Sure. I'm playing M. Glitterstone. She is a hobgob from Auracaster who belongs to the Union of Cartographers and Stratographers. adheres to the scarab dialectic and has sort of bug-like eyes as a result, and is a chaosist. She follows the Church of Gul'than, but is probably not particularly devout in it. She just kind of thinks, yeah, that probably makes the most sense out of all of the dogmas I've heard, but doesn't really think much of it. Unless, of course, pressed and, for example, in a settlement that's collapsing upon her, at which point she might get a little bit more faithful when in those particular foxholes.
It happens in places like this, sadly. Now, we have been at least one calm season since that event. In this story, so I wasn't kind enough to award you any experience, Travis. MK got some.
That's all right.
But that's because MK asked. So you can have 4 XP if you want to spend it off the books.
Woohoo!
How do you think? Well, we know how you came into contact with MK's character, Mirren, but how do you think you came into contact with these other two, especially now that we know a little about Chiara?
I think I would assume that I've kind of been tagging along with Mirren ever since the events of last session. I don't have any particularly I guess broad spanning plans. I like to kind of go where I feel like I'm needed, and in the absence of having a clear sense of where I'm needed, I just kind of go where the tremors take me, as it were. So I would assume I've just been kind of following around like a lost puppy, pretty much.
Very nice. And Travis, if there's anywhere you would like to point people right now, where would that be?
There are 2 things. I'll be super brief about them. First off, Lore of the Traditions just came out in POD today, so you should run over to Drive-Thru-RPG and pick that up if you've not yet done so. And I'll throw the link to that over there in the chat. I also do want to take a moment to call out Odysseys and Overlords 2nd Edition, the most recent release from my company, Aegis Studios. We just had a successful Kickstarter for it, and we've already got the PDF up on Drive-Thru. The PODs should be coming very soon. It is a fantasy setting using the Savage Worlds system. If any of those things sound interesting to you, head over and check that out. I've also thrown a link to that in the chat.
Thank you very much, Travis. And yeah, I mean, I just need to echo, Lord of the Traditions is such a marvelous book. I honestly always struggle to put Mage the Ascension in my top 3 of World of Darkness games. I do play favorites, and Lore of the Traditions helped me a great deal actually understanding Mage a lot more. I was able to actually understand the nature of what you were able to play in that game, and it gave me so many new options. And what's more, it's really maturely and sensitively written, which is a hard thing to do with some of the World of Darkness games. So kudos to you, Travis, and the entire team that was on it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My secret is I hired well. I recommend anyone who's developing to hire good writers, and that'll do 90% of your work for you.
That is completely true, completely accurate. Just sit back and let them work.
Exactly.
Now, we are not done, because Edwin, you are also in this game, and you weren't in our previous one. So why not why not tell us about the character you're playing?
I'm playing Clegg Ironheart, who is an alchemist, part of the Company of Artificers. He is currently looking for rare minerals and bug parts. Please don't waste my time, because I will literally unleash chaos upon you. He's also a fervent follower of the Church of Gul'than. And I think he basically just got where the rest is by the will of chaos. Chaos directed him.
Yeah, the chaos stream swept you into the path of these 3.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And well, that established, Edwin, anything you'd like to point people towards? It doesn't have to be an RPG.
I mean, everything that Mr. Dawkins puts up is worth it, but same goes for Onyx Path. So
That's your ticket to appearing on more streams, Edward.
I know.
In that case, I'll take the opportunity to promote They Came from the Cabin in the Woods, which is our latest They Came From release, which came out just today. If you want a They Came From Camp Murder Lake expansion, They Came From the Cabin in the Woods is the one for you. See what weird and I think entertaining, you may think utterly inappropriate references I have managed to put into that game. I do think there was at one point I referred to one of the player characters as a frigid bitch, which isn't my view. It's the view of the slasher. So that means I have freedom to say things like that. But it's a 1980s horror slasher movie style story. Do check out The Cabin in the Woods. It has all the kind of gore and excitement you can expect.
Here's the link in the chat. And by the way, I will be running a scenario from that Illusion Con in December for charity.
Nice.
So
there you go. See, look, we've all got so many things going on. And finally, last but by no means least, though I think I did also approach you last in our previous game, MK, and it's not. I don't choose to do this. It's for some reason you're always on the far right when it comes to me. By reputation, we know that you are always on the far right. So looking on. So MK, who are you playing as again? And how did you meet this motley crew?
I'm playing Miriam again, who is an Elkin. She's from the Kitchener's Guild, and also Myceli, also Church of Golthan. So I think, like, her driving thing is she wants to find a place to sort of found a new utopian settlement because she doesn't think Mudtown has gone far enough. There needs to be more abundance. There needs to be, an even flatter hierarchy. And she, what do you call it? I think that she's thrilled that, sorry, Travis, I'm blanking on the character's name. Like,
M?
She's like, oh, I've got my first follower. It's sort of what she's sort of
the commune is
internalized
coming
that
together.
The commune is coming together. She's found other people from the Church of Golthan. Like Victoria's character and mine are I think both Mudtown, Myceli, Elkin.
Admittedly, Victoria's is, however, from the Hades tract, so you may get some. Yeah,
that's fine. That's fine. So we're all in this together.
You believe in a pluralistic utopia. There should be many views expressed. Just because the majority of the Church of Golthan doesn't mean everyone is.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very she's a little bit creepier than just benevolent, but she thinks she's benevolent, definitely.
Excellent. And with that said, anything you would like to point people toward, MK?
Yes. What do you call it? First of all, I edited They Came from the Cabin in the Woods, so you should definitely go check that out. Let's see. You and I had a interview.
Yes.
That I would like to promote. I can put that for you guys to share. It's about the world below, and so you guys should check that out and back the world below, which I'm also editing.
Yeah, I mean, if you've made it this far into discussing our characters and not actually role playing, I would hope that you are going to back the world below. But yes, please do check out the interview that MK hosted, and so well. It was a really interesting one. We go into quite a lot of the political themes of the world below. So, a lot of people know all about the fantasy elements. This goes into some of the more, I guess, the deeper side of it, the more philosophical questions that exist in a setting like this. But yeah, if you can back the world below, if you haven't already, then please do. And please also donate to our Make-A-Wish campaign. That is, as much as I love getting support for the world below, the most important thing. And now, You're not going to be able to set up your utopia just yet, I'm afraid, Mirren, because the four of you flung together on the winds of chaos, at least according to Clag, because you're not a serial killer hunting victims in the case of Chiara, and not just because you enjoy each other's company, but you happen to have grown stuck at the hip, and Mirren. You are currently all together and all fleeing because we're going to start this game in medias res. You are charging, barreling, dare I say it, down a tunnel. I mean, when aren't you? The world below is absolutely full of tunnels, chasms, bridges, caves. This is your natural environment. It's never much fun, though, when you're running and you're not sure the direction you're running in, what you're running toward. All that's really important to you right now is what you're running away from. And what that happens to be is a couple of Guhak riding an R3. Now, what is that for the layman? Guhak are cannibalistic individuals. They very rarely operate as packs because why would they want to share food? But they have been, let's say, touched by chaos. I think that's a generous way to describe their state, to the point that they have grown to develop fond appetites for other humanoids, often from their own species. Now, Guhaks aren't simply cannibals. They can grow to enormous size. They can even detach their jaws and swallow people whole like a constrictor might, and they will start absorbing their abilities and gaining from them. Guhak are singularly unpleasant. There's not really much to be done in the way of negotiation when a Guhak gets your scent. Two of them working together, that's highly unusual. Both of them riding the same colossal R3, which is essentially a giant stag beetle that is barreling its way down this tunnel in hot pursuit of the four of you. Also very odd. There's some things that don't add up here, and while Clag might say, vagaries of chaos, these things happen. At some point, two Guhak had to come together on one R3 to pursue us. Or M might be saying, well, what a thrill this is that we get to run away from two cannibals riding a giant stag beetle. The fact of the situation is it isn't fun. You are charging down a steep, what feels like unstable tunnel. The walls are jagged. You can't run four abreast, basically. At maximum, you can get two side by side, and beyond that, you'd be climbing over each other. You don't know what's down the end of this tunnel. It's just wide enough for the R3, which is surprisingly flexible. It can fold its chitin in. And so you've got one of these Guhak riding basically just past its neck, the other one pressed against its side with a spear. It's all a little Mad Max as these two charge you down. So we are going to start with initiative, because that's always the best place to start a scenario.
Yay!
So to remind people how to roll initiative in this game, the first thing you need to do is work out which is the highest of your athletics plus cunning or your empathy plus dexterity. Once you work out which of those is the highest, you roll that dice pool. What you are looking for is 8s, 9s, and 10s. 10s count as 2 hits. And really, the most important thing here is we want to work out who rolls highest, because whoever rolls highest gets to act and then gets to decide who acts next. And so it goes down the chain. So
Empathy plus dexterity is one of them?
Empathy plus dexterity is one of them, yes.
2 hits.
2 hits. Okay, 2 hits for M.
2 hits for Clag.
Okay, 2 hits for Clag. Right now, I am currently beating the both of you with an initiative of 3.
Well, that's good news.
The R3.
No surprise there.
I've got 3 hits.
Oh, okay. And Victoria?
1 hit.
1 hit.
On a dice
All right.
roll.
Okay, so we need to do a tiebreaker here. If we have the same number of hits, let's see. I should go to the player first. Player always gets the call. So yeah, over to you then, MK. You can choose whether you want to act first or if you want someone else to act before you. So keep in mind, and so while it will always seem somewhat logical to viewers, perhaps, that you should always put the players first and then let the enemy go last. Whoever goes last gets to choose who goes next in the next round. And what's more, it isn't always sensible to let them react to you. Sometimes you want to react to them. Now, in this case, it may be perfectly logical for MK to say, I'll go first, and then let's go to this person, this person, this person. But let's see what MK decides. If you need me to set the scene more, I can do so.
So I don't have a lot of powers that would help me here. So I probably should not go first. I think one of our more physical people, and I think possibly even M, might be able to do something. It's either M or Victoria, from what I know of their characters. So
If I may, like outside of action, just speak a little. Whilst we're running, I am probably shouting, "How important is it that we can get back up this tunnel?"
Like, that's a good question.
You were a
like,
fair distance from the last settlement you visited, Long Deep. You are currently in the basalt strata.
okay.
So you're pretty far down.
If I had some kind of, I guess I could do some kind of chaos thing. I could.
Oh, you could, yeah, you could manipulate chaos if you want to go for a wild chaos effect. I would love it if you did, because that means we can get some retaliations straight away.
Yeah, would anybody object to wild chaos as the first move?
Not at all. In fact, once you're done, I'm planning on causing some retaliations on purpose. So,
So
as Gordon Ramsay said, "Oh, you fucker." But you clever fucker.
All I want to do with wild chaos is just lift it. I just want to lift this thing because you've said that the cave is very small.
Mm-hmm.
If you just lift it up, you're gonna hit them. Like,
yeah.
You know, if they're going this way, they'll just.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not going to be able to gallop forward if it's in the air.
It's when a wags will be doing this.
Yes, and you'll be
smashing
one of the Guhak against the ceiling, at least.
Exactly. That's all I want to do is smash the Guhak against the ceiling and prevent it from moving forward as fast. So that's all I want to do.
All right, so I would describe that as a telekinetic-like effect. So you can do this, MK, on your turn. You have to decide which skill and attribute combination you use for this. Now, I would suggest this, while it is telekinetic, it would probably be either a combination of something like close combat and intellect. So you're basically pairing the sort of Magneto, like, you know, it's partly intellectual, partly physical, or you go the other way and you say it's esoterica and might, for instance. Either way, I think telekinesis, it makes sense to match a certain amount of physicality and mentality when using it. Now, we should also look at the difficulty for this. All wild chaos tethering attempts are reflexive, so this is basically you can run and do this quite happily. Well, I say quite happily, we'll actually see how awful this is. I think in this case, I'm looking at the various tethering wild chaos effects. I'm looking at something like you're adding an animated status effect to this. You're also immobilizing it simultaneously because it isn't going to be able to move forward. I think, and this is going to be instant, isn't it? You're not attempting to make this last longer than a turn?
No, it's just sort of bang.
All right, then. So let's say that this is, I'm just doing one last calculation. All right, so and you're affecting someone up to short range from you, so that is going to be 1 difficulty. So in total, you're looking at 3 difficulty here.
Ooh,
Well, this
I
is
can't
why
do
you
that.
start off with 4 momentum.
Yeah, I can't do athletics and
I'd let you use
uh
athletics.
okay, I'm gonna use
Definitely.
athletics and intellect.
Okay, let me also tell you the complication severity.
Okay. Okay.
All right, then. So we are on this case, the chaos level in the surrounding stratum is actually beneficial. So you have an enhancement of 2 here. So that's good.
Oh,
That means if you get a hit, you only need to get 1 hit, and you could use that enhancement to buy off the rest of the difficulty.
yeah.
So keep that in mind. In terms of complications, there are distractions in that you're trying to run away. So that's minor complication there. There aren't volatile chaotic energies here, not yet. And okay, so for the time being, this is and each tethering effect adds another complication. So you're looking at moderate complication, difficulty 3. You would need to somehow get 5 hits to buy all of those off.
Even with the enhancement, or I would need 5 hits. So I
So
would need,
right now you have an enhancement from the chaos level of the surrounding area of
yeah.
2. If you have a chaos rock on you, if you have a chaotic object you're prepared to sacrifice for this, you can do so.
Yeah, I don't have a chaotic object. I've got a personal object, but not.
All right, then. Let's see how you do. Make your roll. And remember, you do have 4 momentum.
Okay. So can I use momentum for an extra die? Is that what I can do, or is that what do I do?
So here's how momentum works.
Sorry.
Momentum, no, it's quite all right. The whole purpose of these streams is so that people watching actually know what's going on. And just to explain what MK is doing here, you can tether wild chaos, and this is a very similar kind of thing to creating your own magical effects in Mage the Ascension. You essentially pull on the things around you to try and create effects, and the more outlandish they are, the more likely it is in Mage you're going to get some kind of paradox backlash, for instance. In this game, the more outlandish it is, the more difficult it is, but most importantly, the more likely you'll get a chaotic retaliation. These are kind of paradox backlash-like, except they're not always negative. They are chaotic, literally chaotic, because you don't know what the outcome is going to be until you roll it. So, in terms of what momentum can be used for here, you could spend momentum after the dice are rolled to add an enhancement on a 1-for-1 basis. So if you get a hit, you could keep buying additional hits with momentum. You could spend 2 momentum after you roll if you fail to turn a failure into a success, or a success with consequences. You could spend 1 point of momentum to describe a story element in a scene. So, for instance, there's a really sharp stalagmite. I think I got that the right way around. I've written it enough. Above or below, could be a stalagmite. The bug. Or you can spend 1 momentum to gain a piece of evidence about the investigation. Right now, I wouldn't call this much of an investigation.
Okay, I'm gonna add a stalactite. I'm gonna spend a point, if that's all right with everybody. I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a really sharp stalactite, and I'm gonna roll.
All right, so I'm going to suggest that when this does hit, if it does hit, you will actually not just freeze it, but also deal piercing damage to it as it collides with the ceiling. So let's go for it. See how many hits you get on your 8s, 9s, and 10s.
Just got 1.
Just got 1, and is that an 8 or a 9?
It's an 8.
Okay, so yeah, 10s count as 2 hits, but that ain't great.
It's not.
So right now you are, well, you've got 1 and you've got your +2 enhancement from the chaos level, so you have beaten the difficulty. You will get this chaos effect off the ground. You do, however, still have a moderate complication to deal with.
Yeah.
Do you want to spend any of your momentum now in this a very early stage of the game to buy off that chaotic retaliation, or do you want to get a chaotic retaliation going immediately?
What do you guys think? Are we up for it?
Chaos. It'll be fun.
Yeah, let's see what happens to me.
Yeah, it's like
Or us.
when everyone
Or all of
turns
us.
into cats and dogs.
Yeah.
Woof, woof.
I mean, you might be able to evade them a bit easier. Could I ask you
Yeah.
to roll 2d10 and add the results together? For a moderate chaotic retaliation. Let's see what happens.
6.
A 6, rapid decay. So chaos surges with the ravages of age across inanimate objects in the location, imparting the ruined area effect.
Ooh.
So, if people don't get out of here soon, they're going to find their equipment pretty much rotting off of them. I mean, you're already moving fast, but
Yeah,
this
we're
also
moving
isn't
pretty
going to help the tunnel itself retain structure integrity. I mentioned earlier, it is very weak. It is now considerably weaker. I will be keeping that in mind. Most importantly for you, the R3 with the 2 goo hack on board goes up and smacks into the ceiling. The R3 lets out a horrible, I mean, it's a poor beast of burden, as this stalactite goes through its chitin and into its fleshy underneath. One of the goo hacks, of course, gets pressed between the R3 and the tunnel ceiling. The one that was clinging to its side falls off and quickly leaps to his feet. This goo hack has a grossly distended stomach. It drags along the ground. It's almost as grossly distended as its jaw, which is already primed open. This thing is basically going to try and leap or rush at you and just swallow you in one fell gulp. But it's up to you, MK. Who's going to go next? You've got the riding goo hack, you've got the goo hack on the ground, you've got the R3, and you've got your 3 companions.
I'm actually gonna put Victoria next because I know she's sort of a combat character.
We do have a silhouette here with who is definitely not a serial killer.
Okay.
So yes, what are you thinking, Victoria?
All right. Can I combine a thesis with a sorcery?
Oh, give me the example.
Rapid shot and ominous bolt.
Yes, because ominous bolt is, I believe, unless I'm very much mistaken,
Both are
a supplemental sorcery. So that will basically affect whatever ranged attack you are doing. The bolt doesn't come out of nowhere. It basically affects your existing ammunition, let's say. So yeah, you could use your thesis with it.
okay. In that case, I will combine rapid shot with ominous bolt. Rapid shot lets me attack twice as a single action with a ranged
Okay.
attack. Separate roll for each attack. And ominous bolt lets me, on a ranged attack hit, command shadows to flit around the target and give it the shadow and stunning tags.
Excellent. Okay, stunning is a very useful tag in this game, I will tell you. It's a good way of making the enemy effectively miss a turn, which can give you the prime opportunity to escape. So first things first, I need to tell you what my defense is. Who are you aiming at with this ominous bolt?
The
Because
first
this is the
attack,
difficulty you're
who
aiming for.
looks like the most threatening enemy? Is it
Right now, the goo hack on the
that's
ground.
above us? Okay, the goo hack. First I'll attack the goo hack that's about to bite us.
All right, then. So that goo hack currently has a defense of, let's see, only one. So that means you only need to achieve a difficulty 1. This is on a ranged combat and dexterity roll to unleash your ominous bolt.
Here we go.
Oh, and I should just add, you are not a chaosist, so as this is a structured chaos, the chaos level of the area is actually going to act as a complication here. So we are looking at a complication of 2 because you're still in basalt. So difficulty 1, complication 2.
Okay. I got 2 hits.
2 hits. Okay, then. So you beat the difficulty. You haven't bought off the complication. Do you want to spend any momentum to buy off the last part of that complication? Or do you want to take the minor chaotic retaliation? with your effect?
Let's go with the chaotic retaliation. That sounds more fun. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll save our momentum to improve our dice rolls. It's fine.
Yes, exactly. You don't need it right now. I mean, it's just a couple of cannibals. What's the worst they could do? Okay, then. So first things first, let's deal with the damage from your attack. Right now, your ominous bolt. So this is your first ominous bolt, of course. Does the normal damage, which is going to be a 1. However, the ranged attack also gains the shadow and stunning tags. So the shadow tag, just to make sure everyone is aware, we have the shadow tag, which you cannot afford the effects. Unfortunately, you need more hits than you actually achieved to purchase the shadow trick, or the occluded trick, or the stun trick. So if you want to, I mean, basically the weapon carries the tag, but it doesn't immediately allow you to buy the trick associated with it unless you get more hits. You need 1 more hit to be able to do this. So you would have to either buy an enhancement with one of those momentum, those precious momentum, or just take it as a 1 damage hit on the goo hack. Your choice.
I like the idea of being able to stun the cannibal. So if the party's okay with it, I'll spend 1 momentum and we can stun him.
I'm not hearing any
Go for
dissent.
it. Go for it.
I'm for it.
Excellent. All right, good. That's what I like to see. So here's what stunned actually does. The character is frozen in her tracks. She either took a great deal of damage or suffered a great shock. All actions suffer a moderate complication, and failure to buy it off means they can only take a single reflexive action on her next turn. So in other words, I'm going to have to contend with a moderate complication when I finally get to that goo hack's action. Now, this isn't to forget, Victoria still has a second shot that she can take. But first of all, roll 2d10 and add them together for our minor chaotic retaliation, please, Victoria.
16.
16. Shaken Will, you have suffered the crestfallen status effect. So now that isn't actually too awful. That's a social status effect. Your character is hit with extreme sadness or guilt or fear. Fear is probably logical in this situation. Anyone who tries to apply a social effect over you will gain an advantage. The good news for you is while you do suddenly feel afraid, the likelihood of the goo hack trying to intimidate you more than just eat you is slim. But you never know. You might strike up a conversation, in which case the goo hack will apparently have the advantage. So let's go for another ranged combat and dexterity to see how your second ominous strike goes.
Okay, crestfallen, I scream, I don't want to be reincarnated yet. I have too much to do. And then I attack again.
When you say too much to do, you mean too many people to kill.
Basically.
Yeah.
2 successes again.
Okay, 2 hits. All right then. And so we're once again using the ominous strike. Once again, you're able to surpass the difficulty. Once again, you're not able to buy off the complication. You can. Are you aiming at the same goo hack?
Let's stun the next biggest threat.
You would need to spend another momentum if you want to stun the other one.
Let's do that. Stunning is too good.
Oh, what do the party think? There's got to be mutual consent here.
I don't have any objection, but I saw MK sort of.
I mean, I think it's too much, but I'm not gonna. But you know what? We're gonna fail plenty going forward, so we'll get some more.
This is fine.
Yeah. just roll some botches. We'll gain momentum.
Fine. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. We want botches. Excellent. Okay, so the other goo hack, who is currently squashed between a ceiling and his R3 mount, is also stunned, would you believe? The ominous strike, which is like a shadowy bolt that emerges from your weapon, I assume like a crossbow or sling, just blasts into the goo hack and shakes her up to the point that she isn't really sure what's going on, where she is, or why she is wedged between this jagged basalt surface and a screaming giant bug. She'll get to it eventually. But let's add 2d10 together again, Victoria, because you've got another complication to deal with. Another chaotic retaliation.
Earlier, I accidentally rolled a 12.
You have accidentally rolled a 12. Well, that doesn't sound good. Let's see what happens. A 12, weaken the bonds. Oh, okay. All characters within short range who share a bond with the caster, reduce that bond by 1. Ouch, that would hurt a great deal if your characters liked each other more. As it is, unfortunately, M and Mirren, the only characters here who share a bond, now no longer do.
Well, what if are they standing close? Are they in close range though? Maybe they're like on opposite sides of the cave.
No, I think for the sake of the fact there's a chaotic retaliation, now you are looking at each other as if to say, you know what, it isn't a question of can we run faster than the goo hack, it's whether I can run faster than you. So all of a sudden, PvP has joined the party.
This is fine. This is fine.
Oh my god.
Your bond, don't get me wrong, you haven't slipped into negative attitude. You're not going to start throwing each other at the enemy, but you do have less of an emotional attachment to each other. It's just been erased. Such is the nature of chaos. It has swept through you. Not only has it struck the soul of Chiara with a fear that she very rarely feels, but it has also just evaporated that connection that M and Mirren had been cultivating since their last adventure. So the vagaries of chaos, they are a cruel mistress. Victoria, who do you want to go next?
Based on what I know about the group, who's the next strongest combat character?
You're not letting those goo hack have a turn, are you?
I want to go last.
Okay. If Emma's character goes last, then Travis goes next.
All right, Glitterstone, what's the play here?
All right, how far am I away from these ne'er-do-wells that are chasing us down the way?
Short range is fair.
All right, in that case, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to say, you think that was bad? And I'm going to blow them a kiss. And when I blow them a kiss, I'm going to kick off a chaotic retaliation with pure chaos.
Explain to us what you mean by that, Travis.
So pure chaos, I am a chaosist. Pure chaos is part of the chaos wisdom. It is a simple power, and it allows me to pull on the threads of chaos and unleash whatever's waiting on the other side. It instantly triggers a chaotic retaliation at short range with the sorcery's dot ready to indicate whether it's minor, moderate, or major. Now I have, and then the player must roll on the appropriate chaotic retaliation chart to determine the outcome of the sorcery. I only have one dot, but if I get additional hits, I can adjust it upward. And also, if I fail to buy off complication attached to the sorcery, it triggers a second chaotic retaliation immediately.
Yes, so good words there to use. You thought that was bad. Let's see then, shall we? Let's see how your roll goes.
I'm going to trust in the chaos. This is a might and esoterica roll for me. I am pretty good at that.
You are quite literally pulling on the threads of chaos right now and just trying to unbind them.
Oh, that's what we like to see. That would be 1, 2, 3 hits. And if I'm not mistaken, I gained 2 enhancement from the chaos level here, correct?
You do indeed, because you are a chaosist. Excellent.
So that should be 1 hit to activate, 1 hit to buy off the minor complication for using the power, and then 3 hits to increase the severity.
If you want to make a major chaotic retaliation.
Can I? Well, that would. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's only 2, right?
If you've ended up with so it was going to be minor regardless, wasn't it? If you,
so it would be
succeeded.
Yep. So it's 2 hits to kick it up. Can I spend that last hit to in any way insulate us from from the negative effects of what's about to happen?
Technically, in this game, you have, well, with characters with whom you have a bond. I mean, that's the kicker, isn't it? They have a kind of psychic defense against any kind of chaotic sorcery that you might use. It was a way of us as game designers to get past the idea of if you throw a fireball into your party, you incinerate them. In this game, you throw a fireball into your party, it only affects the antagonist. The bad news, Travis, is Victoria just erased any bonds that you had with each other. So, no. Let's see how you...
One last thing, and please forgive me if this is a bridge too far, but
Yes.
I do have that one extra hit floating around. Would I be able to throw that hit into activating my encouraging word thesis? Which normally would gain me +1 enhancement to influence someone with prophetic advice, basically. But the more important thing is it allows me to remove the crestfallen status effect. So is it possible that my actions are so impressive that they, in fact, remove crestfallen from my Sealy friend?
Yes, of course. As you can see how scared Chiara is right now, absolutely.
And lastly... Sorry.
No, it's quite all right. Quite all right. I like that you're displaying some of the complexities that you can go into with these things. It's good.
For sure. Lastly, if that being the case, can I add a momentum to the pool for impressing others with my actions or appearance?
I'm impressed. Do it.
I feel like someone just overrode me.
No.
We really might need it. I'm not sure we all survived this. They haven't even moved yet.
It took us 30 minutes to introduce the characters. It will take us 30 minutes to kill them. Let's see what chaotic retaliation you get, Travis, before I will say whether you've impressed them. Because if the chaotic retaliation is you leave them all diseased, I don't think they're going to feel very impressed.
That's fair. All right. So it's a major. So I roll 2 D10, add them together.
I'll let you know what that is on the chart.
That would be an 18.
Oh. You have achieved one of the rare positive chaotic retaliations, Travis. I know you were really hoping to destroy the tunnel or something like that. Instead, you are now flush with chaos. That is a status effect.
Excellent. And what wonderful things do I gain for being flush with chaos?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because being flush with chaos means that you will gain +1 enhancement on all attempts to tether wild chaos until you leave this area or until the scene ends. That is, although it's positive, it's really not what you were looking for. So I'm going to give you a way out of this. If you don't want that, and this is something you can do with some abilities in the game, you've got that floating hit. If you don't want to use it on momentum, you can adjust that 1 up or 1 down on the chart. And do you want me to tell you what your options are?
I am looking at them. They're beautiful, but you can certainly tell the class at home.
So if you had rolled a 17, the caster's weapon loses all tags, becoming a barely usable lump. Probably not desired at this point.
Right.
19, bugs that cut. An aggressive razor wing swarm appears at the edge of medium range from the caster's present location.
Yeah.
If you want that to appear behind the R3, because that is medium range, they're within close range, so that would be medium behind them, you can do so.
Yeah, I think
you'd have to spend that hit.
I think I'll do that. If it's at all possible, I would like, ideally, that chaos to manifest because I kicked it off with blowing them a kiss. Like, almost like this chaotic energy flows forward and, like, manifests into the desired shape on the other side of them, and then the bugs just fly this way.
I like it. That is what happens. No one is impressed. Because all they see is the kiss you're blowing, and the insects appear on the other side of the R3, but they might be impressed when they see the result.
Fair enough.
Now, Travis, Edwin said he wants to go last. Do you want to go after the antagonists, Edwin?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yeah?
I'll
who are you choosing, Travis?
I'll pass it off to the... Well, let's give it to the beast that's impaled first. If I if I can make that finite or that like
Yeah, you can. You can choose a story guide character.
yeah, let's do that beast that's impaled as
So
the next.
the R3 is, let's see, am I going to be generous and say that it's, well, we know it's immobilized, so I think, yeah, we compare that with the impalement. The R3 doesn't have the opposable thumbs or indeed limbs to extract itself from its impalement. It does, however, have substantial weight to allow it to drop. So I'm going to make a quick roll here to see whether it can wriggle its way free with a thump back onto the tunnel ground. It does so. However, and this isn't ordinary. Story guys don't tend to apply complications to their own actions, but I have done so, which I've not been able to buy off. And the reason is because of the area effect that you're currently existing under. Let me remind you, at the beginning of this session, I mentioned that this is a very unstable tunnel. Let me also remind you that due to a certain chaotic retaliation that was triggered off the very first action in this in this particular scene, it was made even more unstable. It's ruined, in fact. So when the R3 crunches onto the ground, it just keeps going. And there's suddenly a sinkhole of R3 and Goohack Rider. The Goohack will get his turn, the Goohack Rider, next, because as the R3 scrabbles as only an impaled stag beetle can, trying to clutch onto the sides, the poor thing, as the ground just gives way underneath it. The Goohack is, of course, going to try and leap free. Unfortunately, said Goohack is currently stunned, let me remind you. So that means I have to act with a moderate complication to see whether he is even capable of that. Goohacks have the natural quality of being able to leap, but I've still got to roll to see how well I do this. And by some minor miracle, this Goohack is able to leap free and shake off the stunned effect. Not bad. I mean, that is the sum total of the Goohack's action. It's now a slathering mess, covered in basalt dust and bits of R3, and does not look happy with the recent turn of events. Lets out a dreadful scream in your direction, but this isn't a scream of pain. This is a scream of frustration and hate. But that's all the Goohack can do. Now we move on to the second Goohack, who was also stunned and injured. And this one is, of course, going to try and shake off the stun. And I think jump at, well, it's got to be Chiara, frankly, because Chiara is the one that tried to stun him, or did stun him. No, all he can do is move. He stumbles forward. He has a javelin that he lifts and basically props it forward like a walking stick. You think he was going to throw it at you at very short range at that, but the nature of the stun is such that he lunges forward, lurches forward, and finds himself propped on the javelin, which is still in his hand, looks at it, thinks, hang on, I was about to throw that, shakes his head, looks at you. His jaw is a little behind the shaking of his head because it's so low, and he looks at you through cross eyes, Chiara, but the Goohacks, importantly, do not get an attack on either of you, which finally takes us to Mr. Edwin Wessels and Clag Ironheart. Clag, what's the plan?
Well, I'm tired of this running. I'm just gonna create a door in the earth and sidestep.
Just for you?
Well, the rest can join if they want to, or they can just see what the Chaos is going to do. So I have the synthesis create a mysterious doorway in the earth.
You can indeed. So this is, let's see, what's the name of the synthesis?
Earth door.
Earth door. Okay, so Earth door, it's a 3-dot synthesis, a good one. In times of great danger, your attunement to earth and stone allowed you to rip open a door in the ground or a cavern wall. Once per session, make a simple enigmas action. Success opens a door for the remainder of the scene. So could I ask you to make an enigmas, and you compare it with whichever attribute you feel is appropriate?
stamina.
Okay.
Just running away, being
Mhm.
quick.
I should note that the end of this synthesis is what lies in the unknown is up to the story guide's discretion, but I wouldn't be so cruel as to have another goo hack waiting in there.
I mean, bring it.
I sat on the toilet thinking, what? Why have you just interrupted me on the privy, sir?
2 successes. 2 hits, sorry.
Two hits. 2 hits. Well, 2 hits is all you need. You only need 1. So
Perfect.
I would say that as you've got an additional 1, you can grab one of your companions and pull them in with you if you so wish, or you can define the nature of what's on the other side of the door.
I'm going for the surprise, so you can decide what's on the other end of the door.
Okay.
Which of... Actually, can I use the hit to allow the door to be opened just for 1 round so that everyone can scramble through and then instantly closes?
Yeah, if you want to choose, well, because you get to choose who goes next on this round, well, as the next round starts. So absolutely, you could do that.
Perfect. Then that's what I'll do. And I'll
All
just whistle through here. And I'll just...
And can we take it then that each of the 3 of the rest of you are going to be going in order to run through this new opened passage? Or is anyone going to be hanging back?
Can I make attacks before I move back?
You can move and attack. Movement to short range is just a reflexive action. So yeah, you could do that if you want.
Yes, I would attack and then move.
Okay, so in that case, it's still important for Edwin to stress who goes after Edwin.
That's going to be Victoria.
Okay, then. So we'll get the attack done first. So, Chiara, what kind of attack are we looking at here?
Another ranged attack. Who looks closest to death?
I mean, both of the Guhak look unwell. The one who is pinned between the ceiling and the R3 looks worse. Probably dealt some internal injuries, but these creatures are known for moving their internal organs around when necessary.
Okay. I would like to use Rapid Shot again on the Gulak who's unstunned.
Okay. That is the one who has taken the most harm.
Perfect. So I make 2 attacks, 2 separate
Yep.
rolls.
Are you going for a sorcery again, or are you just rolling to hit?
No sorceries this time.
You don't want any more chaotic retaliations, you coward.
Yeah, I don't want the door to vanish. That wouldn't be fair to anyone.
All right, then. So it's just ranged combat and dexterity, please, as you back up.
4, 5, 6 hits.
Ooh, okay. Well, I think now is a good opportunity to have a look at some combat tricks you may want to purchase. Again, we've already established they only have a defense of 1. So you only need to get 1 hit to beat the defense, which leaves you with 5 hits to spend on tricks. 3 hits allows you to deal additional damage because that's a critical. Just giving you some options. You can spend 2 hits to trip someone, knock them prone where they stand. So if you basically use both critical and trip, you would do double damage and knock them down, so the Guhak wouldn't be able to attack this turn. There are some other tricks you may be interested in, such as Feint, that allows you to generate enhancement on your allies' next attack against the opponent, or Distraction. What are you thinking? What are you wanting to go for?
Let's see. Can I trip another character with my 1 ranged attack? Or is that not?
No, you would have to use that on your second attack.
Okay.
Rapid. So,
is there any trick I can use to enhance my second attack?
Let me see. I don't think so, no. And well, unless you're targeting the same person twice, which you can do.
Probably not, since with this many hits, I think he's kind of dead.
You know, he's certainly not going to be well enough to carry on fighting.
I would like to make him dead enough. Can I make him dead enough in a really dramatic way that scares off the other pursuers?
Okay. So yeah, you can come up with your own tricks like that, and I think that's an interesting one. So if you spend 3 of those hits on critical, and let's come up with a trick with your remaining 2 hits, which we will call Bloody Death.
Awesome.
Which is what kind of range attack are we using here? Is it arrows, bolts, bullets? What are you hitting this person with?
Oh, bullets are an option?
As in slung bullets, not
Oh.
fired bullets.
Um, I have it here that I'm using a hand crossbow.
Okay. So that's a bolt. Well, it's up to you how you want, if you want to describe this bloody death or you want me to have that liberty. Your choice.
Please describe his bloody death.
All right then. So this goo hack is, I mentioned they have a tendency to rearrange their organs. They kind of have to, the way their bodies end up utterly grotesque and deformed. And so you fire or shoot the crossbow bolt into him. It shouldn't have an immediately lethal effect. You've struck her, sorry, sort of center mass, just upper abdomen. It would hurt. It wouldn't necessarily kill. She pulls the bolt out rather absently, throws it to the ground, and that's when the damage comes in, because what follows is like a hose pipe of gore just gushes out. She is as surprised to see it as you are. She tries plugging the wound up with her fingers, and somehow, maybe because the bolt was barbed on the end, it only seems to exacerbate the wound, and now there's basically a torrent of gore flooding out of this cannibal's midsection. She looks to her more masculine companion, who is utterly fucking terrified of this, but also hungry. And so this is where we may have misjudged the goo hack. It isn't going to terrify the goo hack, but it is going to make that goo hack think, dinner. I don't need to pursue these idiots anymore. I've got a flowing chocolate fountain of a goo hack right next to me now to dip my marshmallows in. And so the goo hack collapses, a spray of viscera in her wake, and yeah, her partner goes to town, gobbling up the remains. So yes, it is a bloody death. It's what you wanted in a kind of way.
So I have a short-term aspiration: liberate a troubled person or creature from the world below. I just did that, so I get back 1 momentum.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, I think that's fair. The goo hack are definitely troubled.
Excellent.
This one is troubled no more.
Awesome. For my second attack, are there any other targets besides the guy eating his friend?
There's a rather nasty razorwing swarm that appears to have come out of nowhere at medium range that's now swarming down towards you, but a single shot bolt may not be able to do much about it. You could certainly shoot down the other goo hack in case he changes his mind, or just cancel that and head for the door.
I'm not going to cancel an attack. I will attack the guy eating his friend. All
right, good for you. I mean, his back's turned, but he is a cannibal. It's difficult to stand on the sort of on the doorstep of morality right now.
2 hits.
2 hits. Well, that beats the defense. It isn't going to be enough to kill. You don't have enough hits here to buy the critical, and even that wouldn't kill him at this point. But you can certainly use that to trip. If you spend that momentum you just earned, you could basically knock him prone, so he definitely isn't going to come for any of you through the earthen door. So you win some, you lose some. You earn a momentum, spend it straight away.
Trying to keep our pool low.
Yeah, well, you know me and luck and all kinds of traits. If you can spend them, they disappear. Your choice. Or you could just do the damage. There are other 1-hit tricks you could buy here.
Let's do the damage. Between between all the cannibal flesh for him to eat and the chaos and the darkness, I don't know if he's smart enough to go through our door.
It's a gamble, but I like it.
Yeah.
All right then. Okay. And now you're heading for the door, I assume.
Yep.
Who are you passing the initiative to?
Let's do the same thing as last time. M.
Okay, MK.
Oh no, M is.
M is in
Oh,
charge.
M. Sorry.
Amazing me.
I will.
M
I will say I
Glitterstone.
do have a combat skill. Like I'm not entirely defensive, but that's
Okay.
All right.
Duly noted. I'm just gonna run for the door, but correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you say that one Gulthex sat down a spear or put a spear in the ground?
Yeah, the stunned one who is leaning on his javelin right now. I mean, well, no, he's not anymore because he's just descended to devour his companion, so it's just bonging.
Right, I'm gonna filch that on the way out.
All right.
So
I hope for a chaotic retaliation.
and hope for a retaliation, absolutely.
All right,
so this is a Esoterica Dex roll for me.
Yeah, it's a very easy one. Create a temporary portal.
Yeah, basically teleport the object to my hand. It's unattended, so I don't need to spend any extra hits to grab it. 2, 3, 4. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hits.
Well, you don't need to worry about chaotic retaliations in this case.
Oh, plus I would have the 2 enhancement for the chaotic strata that we're on, correct?
You would indeed. So, do you want to, do you want to buy off that chaotic retaliation, or are you going to let it flow anyway?
Oh yeah, I'll buy off whatever chaotic retaliation would be coming. So that'll cost me what, 1?
Well, I mean, at this point, it's negligible the number of hits you achieved. Really, I was just going to see whether you wanted a
No, I'm not.
Because you're a
No,
sod.
not quite that maddening. But if I can look super cool while I do it, so as to impress my my associates.
I mean, there's only one associate left here to impress. So let's ask, Mirren, are you impressed to see this temporary portal appear about 5 feet away from the incredibly lazy M. Glitterstone as she reaches for this javelin?
I am incredibly impressed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
There we go. No, it's more like 15 feet. It isn't unimpressive at all. Your hand disappears off the end of the limb and reappears 15 feet away to pull this javelin closer to you. It is a disgusting barbed weapon, which we can break down tag-wise once you get to a place of safety.
If I have the space and time with that loop, I will. As we
You're just wanting to antagonize the goo hack at this point, and it will work. I mean,
that's the aim.
Now I just need to wait to see what MK does if you're passing on.
I absolutely am. Yeah, I'm gonna. I was hoping to filch and run, basically.
Yeah. Well, you can certainly do that.
Diving into the door and then passing it on to MK.
Well, Mirren, you can really tempt fate here. If you want to also antagonize this goo hack, feel free. See what happens, or you can run.
I think I'm just gonna run. I looked at the combat ability I have, and it's only unarmed, so I'd have to like sock him in the face or something, and it would.
As tempting as that is, you might lose a hand.
It's true. So I'm going to like I do have like a little pea shooter. Like I might just, because I have an attack that I can do while running. I might just do a little, that's it on the way out.
All right, go for it. I'll ask for a. It's always funny, I think looking at what attribute you would use for a blowgun. It's none of them quite make sense, so I think we will have to go with dexterity and ranged combat, which is traditional for ranged attacks.
Yeah, I've got like long range and piercing as my tag.
Wow, okay,
So
that is quite some blow you have on you,
no,
Mirren.
I mean, it's just. Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna go there on stream for charity. So we're gonna. Uh,
We've already
I
gutted a cannibal, and
yeah.
for
No,
charity
I'm doing
though,
it
it was for a
for
good cause.
charity. For yeah.
It's
So
what the
we're
Make-A-Wish kids would want.
yes, exactly. So now it's time for my blowjob. So so I'm
Thank you, Travis. At that point, going exclamation mark wish on the Twitch. That make sure we know why. Remind ourselves why we're doing this.
for the kids. So I've got 2 10s.
Yes,
So that means I've got 4 hits on it.
you got 4 hits. Wow. Okay. Well, as always, we've already ascertained that the goo hack has a defense of 1, so you beat its defense. You've got 3 left. You want to spend it on a critical? Double the
Ooh.
damage.
Yeah, do it. But do I get to bank it any of them as momentum? Is that something I can do?
I mean, people have been playing rather fast and loose with this kind of thing, if you ask me.
Technically, we only had a
Oh.
net loss of 1 momentum. That's not so bad.
No, you've yeah, net, yes. I think you're on you're on 3 right now. So if you want to kill it, if you want to kill the goo hack, or at least render him incapable of chasing you, you need to buy critical.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think it's fair to say, and I don't think this is me breaking the story guide code. It's fair to say that after being, let's remind ourselves, having his companion gutted, having his javelin stolen, and someone go at him, being shot again, let us remind ourselves, by Victoria, and now being shot again by Mirren here, it would be fair that he may interrupt his feeding to wonder what the fuck is going on behind him and why he keeps getting peppered with bolts and darts.
Well,
I mean, there's only so
running through
blasé
a
you can
door.
be.
I am running through a door immediately after this. So yeah, I'm gonna use a critical. And
All
because I
right.
just don't want him following.
Yeah. Well, at this point, that is a guarantee. Your dart pierces right at the base of the neck, where the spine meets the skull. And whether that kills him or not, you do not stick around to see, because this tunnel starts shaking rather rapidly. And what you can see, you can choose who to go to next. Oh, wait, there is no one. Well, that's not true.
Yeah.
There is a gutted goo hack who is technically still alive on 1 health, but isn't moving anywhere. There's an R3 who is 1 level lower than you, and there's now a Razorwing swarm in the scene. Who do you want to go next, MK?
I'm gonna go with the gutted. I'm gonna go with the gutted character who's not gonna be able to move.
She goes and passes to the Razorwing swarm that proceeds to devour her. As if she didn't have a bad enough day. She maybe thought, at least I'm not going to be eaten alive. And then and then these Razorwings appear to finish off the job.
I just imagine like a look on her face as she sort of looks over and notices, like, "Aw, like, come on."
We cannibals never get the break. Which just leaves us to go back to you, Edwin, closing the door.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I use my extra hit for, basically. Once the last one goes through, it just auto closes. So, and now to see what chaos waits us on the other end.
Yes, indeed. Well,
you mean to tell us we just stumbled into a camp of goo hacks?
It'll look up.
Food delivery, door hub,
deliverance. You you stumble in. To your surprise, into what appears to be a rather built-up settlement. Now, you've used these earth doors before, Clag. You know that they don't always conform to the barriers of physical reality. Sometimes you will pass through a wall and you won't necessarily appear where that wall is, because logically you would be in the wall. Sometimes it opens up a chaos portal. Chaos portals riddle the world below, and that is what the earth door will sometimes do, especially if there is nowhere to safely deposit you in the immediate vicinity. You don't recognize this place. There are small buildings. They're all crafted out of stone. There is still a thick volume, I should say, of basalt in the area and in the air. The dust is quite heavy. It's dull, dark grey stone on the floors, walls, and ceilings. There are sigils carved into the walls all around this cave, which is a rather roughly circular cavern. Looks large enough probably to house something like, at your best guess, 40 people maximum. That's a decent number. This isn't a small habitat, but at the same time, this isn't a major settlement. Most importantly, you can't see any obvious ways out. The way you've just come, there's the earth door behind you. That will disappear into the wall soon enough. There is no obvious gate. There are no tunnels branching out of this place. There are luminescent fungi, sunflies buzzing around in here, so there is light. You're not in pitch darkness or anything like that. And you can still hear signs of life in here too. Voices, it sounds like.
So I have something called a crude map. Does anything here look familiar to me?
That's a good question. Your map is indeed crude. Let's see, how many dots is that crude map worth?
1, so I get a +1 enhancement.
All right, let's go for survival and intellect, please.
Does a 1 remove a success?
No.
In that case, 3 successes.
So 3 hits. Okay, so with your enhancement as well. You recognize the sigils. You're still on the basalt stratum, no doubt about that. You can recognize this language as that used by some of the original civilizations of the world below. It looks like a version of what the Apricians would write in. Apricians tend to keep their settlements quite hidden away, which would explain why this one is so secluded. You can't see any doorways, tunnels, as I've already established. There's nothing of a landmark nature to point out exactly what this place is. There's no building with a spire, nothing with an arched or domed roof. There's no particular jewels you can see in the city. Actually, that's not true. You're looking closely now. You're checking your map. You're looking again. Yeah. There are peaks in the roof of this cavern. Just a few. And those 3 peaks, a triangle almost. You look at your map and you can see there is a place noted, question mark next to it. It may or may not be really there. There is a simple scribble next to it. It is called Minerone.
Perfect.
There is nothing more that you know about Minerone other than it is on the map, but may not be verified. So if you're a member of the cartographers, this is a valuable find if you can find your way out and connect it to another settlement.
Yeah. So Clark will slowly roll up the map. Wait until the others finally appear. And welcome to Mineron. And he waves at it,
Minestrone likes the soup.
almost. But what's minestrone?
A
No,
rare and exotic delicacy from the
Mi-
surface.
Minaron, like a very small Ron.
Yeah, or that. So yeah, we have arrived.
Oh,
Well, that's a
Mineral-
relief.
Are
Yeah,
there
thanks.
people here?
Maybe they might be out on an expedition.
Well, we should go explore and greet them. But first, allow me to pray. And then I make some signs and mutter some prayers for the dead. And then I say, well, I think that cannibal will have a better life in the world above.
I'll say, yeah, you did a wonderful thing back there. You should really be proud of yourself. And I would now like to try to remove the crestfallen status from my dear friend.
Wasn't it already removed?
It will have disappeared at the end of the scene.
Oh,
so
okay.
no
Okay.
need to worry now, Travis.
Glorious.
But I appreciate the team building gesture.
We're gonna need it since we lost all of our we literally escaped eldritch horrors together, and then it's like, who are you, stranger? I don't know you. Is that permanent? Is that still
Yeah,
gone?
chaotic retaliation erodes the bond. I mean, when you get through the next calm, those bonds will reform. But right now, maybe the chaos, the CH chaos that just occurred back there is enough to have put a stress on those previous attachments.
Yeah. So
You hear a voice that's growing louder. Devakoronami omida duble. Bis manaba poplis, bis poplis bera. Bera, aklaba, aklaba.
maybe it's gonna hide.
Yeah, I'm gonna cast Aegis on myself just to be on the safe side.
She's just gonna, from last time, from the rot that she ran into.
Yeah.
Hiding worked pretty well, so she's gonna find a little cranny and fold herself up.
So Travis, what I love about the fact that you're going straight to sorceries is you are still on the basalt strat.
Yes.
Well, you do have, that means as a chaosist you gain enhancement, so this should be easy for you, but let's just see how badly you roll.
It's 2 on the dice, so it's a total of 4 hits, right?
You're all right then. You're all right. So yes, I mean, it is a wonderful idea that as soon as you enter a new settlement, you immediately trigger a flood or something like that. I was just trying to shield myself.
Indeed.
But no, you're fine.
Excellent. And I think I will pump those extras into chaos locking the armor if I can.
Mm-hmm. All right, and how about Chiara? What's your course of action as this voice from amid the buildings and alleys ahead of you gets louder?
I will also like to hide, and I would like to use my thesis, I was never here. A +2 enhancement to influence others to ignore my presence.
All right, then. It's certainly easier when you're in a crowd of people. But yes, absolutely. You can hide. I'm not going to make you roll right now to do so because you've got the forewarning from this noise to basically find a place to conceal yourself, just as Miranda does. So yeah, you can duck behind some rocks or one of these buildings here. And finally, how about Clag? What's your plan? Are you going to stand your ground, or are you going to duck and hide and leave everything to the chaosists to deal with it?
No, he's gonna wait. He's gonna wait until they come.
All right then. So there is a troop of 3 individuals. 2 of them are clad quite heavily in insects carapace, including helmets, masks, shoulders, arms. I know I've already mentioned Mad Max, but there is something of a road warrior fashion statement going on here. Lots of spikes, less leather and PVC. but still a bit of Vernon Wells about the looks here. These are definitely the cultural traits of the Apricians. They like to clad themselves from pretty much head to toe in as much insectoid and bug and creature-born armor as they can find. But that isn't the only individual. I mentioned a third. There is also an elf with them. It's actually the elf that's speaking. Amenda defrada babnanada. She points at the two of you. Octis, ba, burro, octis, manta, manta, manta.
Can you clarify?
Bad Nazar.
Can you clarify one thing for me, if you don't mind, Matthew? Yeah. The various dialectic cants, are those verbal or are those like a sign language kind of thing?
So they can be either, quite frankly. Why, I'm assuming your character has one?
Yeah, I've got the Scarab dialectic cant, so I just wanted to try to greet the others in that, just to see if they're like, are you friendly?
Yeah, it's actually, I'm very glad you did, Travis, because that helps ease the translation. This elf is speaking in a Scarab dialectic.
Okay.
Or well, as to a Scarab dialectic. While she shows none of the physical manifestations of the Scarab dialectic, she is definitely speaking as one from that particular morphology.
Oh, beautiful.
And she is basically saying, who are you? How did you get in here? This is a sacred place. This is a sanctuary during the chaos storms. Who permitted you entry?
I'll say, sorry, we came here by accident. We were running from cannibals. It was very scary. It was bad stuff. And my associate here opened a doorway, which inadvertently brought us here. No offense or harm was meant. We were merely trying to escape a deadly situation.
I'm not going to make you take an action to persuade. The talk of cannibals gets all three of them looking. One of the Apricians in armor is now looking around and speaks in a non-Scarab tone. Are they here now? Where are these? Guhak.
Other side of the wall, and we left them in rather dire straits. I don't think they're going to be a problem.
And the sheriff was right. There are Guhak around here.
Oh, most certainly. That door, we couldn't have gone more than a couple of yards, right? I mean, that was pretty close. I'm looking over to my friend for confirmation. Okay, apparently it was not terribly close, but close enough that your sheriff friend was right. I'd love to meet your sheriff. Can my friends and I meet the sheriff and maybe find somewhere to catch a breather, beverage?
One of the armored fellows folds his arms. This is no place for outsiders. This is no place for you. And now the other armored individual says, nonsense. They're here. Their chaos storms will soon rage. They might as well remain here during the calm. Can you not feel it in the air? The bugs are agitated. Chaos is agitated.
Bugs? Where?
Can I tell, like through orienteering perhaps, if that's accurate?
I think I'm not even going to again ask for a roll. Yeah, now that it's pointed out to you, you're able to calm yourself somewhat and grow accustomed to your surroundings instead of being on the run from hungry cannibals. You can certainly get the feeling that, yeah, there's that, it's an often used term, but that ozone-like effect in the air. The sunflies are slightly more vibrant. The fungus actually sways a little. There is a chaotic energy about the place that tells you, well, damn good job you found this place when you did, because a chaos storm is imminent, if not raging, outside this settlement.
I'm gonna creep out. You know, she's going to unfold herself and
Ah! Montar arriba, Biznakala!
Your friend, these are friends.
yeah,
They're-
and I'm gonna use exalted deeds to sort of explain that you know, yeah, I killed one of the cannibals, and now, you know, I'm a pretty
Now
good
I'm your
farmer
queen.
myself. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like and I'm a pretty good farmer myself. Is there anything I can do to help? Like that sort of. How does exalted deed work? I can shift it positively. I want to have a little home here. I want to build a little nest. So I want
Mhm.
to make sure that they're happy to have me.
All right
How
then.
does that?
So could you read out what Exalted Deeds does?
Let me find it. Let me see. It's in the. Where the heck I put it? It's not in the game system. It's going to be in the.
But yes, right now they seem quite disarmed by the fact that you've snuck out of hiding. You didn't go ha and jump out, but they weren't aware of your presence because M didn't think to say two of my companions are currently hiding.
Now, that's what do you call it? That's a sorcery. So that's a different chapter. I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right. Well, I may be able to find it for you if you'd like.
Yeah, I've got one screen, so that's pretty miserable for
All right,
finding
this
it.
sorcery enables the caster to exude the weight of their deeds and appeal to or cow their audience up to medium range. This would be a sorcerous effect on the targets. They will know if you fail that you're trying to affect their emotions. As a farsighter, you need to roll your empathy plus composure.
Empathy. I think I'm pretty good at those. So let's see. Empathy, 3 dots, and then composure, 4 dots. So I'm rolling 7 dice. So.
Okay, so yeah, you can basically compel a shift in attitude positively or negatively through exalted deeds.
I have 4 hits.
Okay then. So one of the Apricians is currently neutral towards you and is now positive. The 2 that were negatively surprised by you are now neutral. You can apply additional hits to give onlookers a status effect, such as crestfallen, if you want them afraid of you, or ashamed of their actions, or inspire them.
What does inspire them do?
Well,
I like
inspired
the
mechanically speaking would give them a benefit to their next action, but narratively speaking, I think it will instill a certain degree of faith in you and result in them not just running you through.
Yeah, let's do that. I want to be a little inspiring little mushroom creep.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, there's the awful, lethal, toxic mushroom hiding behind that boulder. You're the lovely, glowy, radiant mushroom emerging from this one. And so, yes, while 2 of them praise you with certainly a neutral view, the positive one says, no, lower your weapons. She just explained she killed one of the cannibals. If this is true, then we have every reason to welcome her into our community. Minerone means you no harm. He actually puts his arm in the way of his companion and says, do not strike her. She is a hero.
A rather brave one, might I add. And we have another one over here. We're flush with heroes today. Please come out.
Now that I've been called out, I sigh, I put my crossbow away, and then I come out, looking, smiling, and innocent, and
in
happy.
that order. In that order.
Yes.
My, these fungi grow everywhere. You just can't tell, can you, where the next one will crop up? And what of you? Are you also a cannibal slayer?
Of course.
I noticed about your garb that you are a follower of the Hades tract.
Ah, you're familiar with the Hades tract?
Our judge is similar.
Oh, he or she must be a lovely person.
She is righteous and just, as all judges should be.
As they should.
You have arrived at a pressing time for our community, addressing all of you now. But before we go further, I appreciate we've now been streaming for just over an hour and a half, so now is a good time for bio breaks. Anyone who needs to go off, get new drinks or recharge, whatever you need to do, and we will return in the next few minutes, if that's all right.
Okay.
Travis?
Absolutely fine. I just want to remind everybody to please make sure you hit those links. We've got the Roll for Wishes link up, and we've got the World Below backer kit. If you're watching this live, hang back, check those links out, and we'll be back momentarily. If you're watching it on the playback, hit fast forward until you see our pretty faces. We will see you momentarily.
Later.
We are back.
Mm-hmm. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in for our World Below Make-A-Wish special. As mentioned a couple of times already, we are doing this for the Roll for Wishes campaign, I should say, which is raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation and therefore going towards incredibly worthy causes. If you can donate any money at all, no matter how small or how grand, to Make-A-Wish via any of the links we posted in the Twitch chat and will be in the video description once this is on YouTube, that would really be appreciated, not just by us, but by the ultimate recipients. And we really do mean that even $5 is a massive help, because as other people accumulate this $5, you know, eventually you get to 100, eventually you get to 1,000, eventually you get to 10,000. Difference between what you can buy for 9,995 and what 10,000 can actually be significant. So please do back that campaign. And if you have money left over that you don't want to give to Make-A-Wish because you're heartless, you can, of course, support our game, The World Below, which we are running right now and is currently on Back-A-Kit. We do appreciate that support too. Right now, though, my suggestion, if you want to support anything, donate money to Make-A-Wish and share our campaign. I mean, sharing our campaign costs nothing, costs you nothing, and might draw more eyes to it. And we would love more eyes on this. We already have over 600 backers, which is very good for this amount of time into the campaign. And who knows where we will end up. It would be wonderful the closer we get to 1,000. I'm not saying we will hit 1,000. I'm not saying that's likely. But if we get close to it, I will be a very, very happy developer. So, where were we? You had just arrived in the settlement of Minerone. And currently 3 of the inhabitants of Minerone are discussing among themselves. Otobe kurum namin o manta manta duble imen defra na bampanada octis munta arima bisna kala. There's a bit of nodding. Fine. Yes, we'll take you into the settlement. You don't just have to stay on the fringe, and you can't leave now anyway. Not with the chaos storms raging. You wanted to meet the sheriff?
Yes, please. I would be very interested to meet anyone who's involved with the organization of this settlement. This is quite the nice place you have here.
Well, thank you. We like to keep things peaceful and just. Those kinds of words always reek of autocracy to you, Mirren. I mean, it's nice to have peace and justice. Of course it is. You know, everyone aspires to those things. But usually when they are your lead words to describe the place you live, it implies a certain authoritarian streak that you've always clashed against. The Mud Town instills a certain laissez-faire attitude, shall we say, but, you know, not necessarily of the selfish variety.
Oh dear. So, tell me about how you govern here.
With
I'm so
delight, we
interested.
will, Cannibal Slayer. Chiara, if you were hoping for the glory in this, you needed to have taken that exalted deeds.
I don't mind. I don't mind being hiding in the shadows, so to speak.
And Mirren loves attention. So
you see these sigils around the cavern. Gestures. They are not just around the cavern walls, but around the entrances and exits that you cannot see. Only the people schooled in the way of entering and exiting this settlement can access them, which is why we were so surprised by your appearance here. Yes, it is possible via sorceries and sometimes errant chaos portals to arrive here. Yes, sometimes people breach our defenses without our wishes, and in that case we must deal with them often with hostility. And yes, we were very concerned when you arrived, but you put our minds at ease immediately, Cannibal Slayer. Do not be afeard of that. But crucially, Minerone is protected. The inhabitants are the only ones who know how to enter and how to exit. And that is why you arrive at an auspicious time, but not in a good way. You are not the only people to have arrived here without ceremony or invitation in recent days, as you will soon discover.
Really? Who else is here?
You, the other cannibal slayer.
Yes, the other one.
It is not who is here now, but who was. A Guhak somehow entered our settlement, a settlement that has been protected against such creatures for the longest time, and stole away the mayor's child. What befell the child does not bear repeating. Guhak are indiscriminate. It is not a question of sadism, and we do not view the Guhak as more or less than they are. They are predators, just the same as a bug is driven to eat. This Guhak, probably without much more thought than I smell a meal. That is a meal, not Emil. He lives 2 doors down. He's fine. Sorry, I often veer into they came from territory, it seems. Often they will smell a meal. He does smell. And they will ferret themselves in via some means or other, grab their foodstuff, and depart. A Guhak somehow did this here in our most sacred sanctuary of Minerone. It should be impossible.
Were you able to track down where they entered?
Yes, where they entered and how they left, and where the child was taken, and no, there are no remains left truly to speak of. Not for reconstitution, not for resurrection, not for even burial under the sacred watch of idols. Gesturing at Chiara, perhaps you of the Hades tract may believe that she left to a better world. If only the passage to that place was not so... Well, he leads you to the settlement square, and for the players, this will be reminiscent of a western town, almost desert-like, with a thoroughfare, small buildings around, a gallows even, pretty much, a stage set up, with 3 people sat and tied to stone rocks. And I do emphasize stone rocks. It isn't a silly bit of tautology there. There are, of course, lots of jewels and minerals that one could be tied to. They are bound to heavy lumps of granite, so they're not going to be running anywhere. They are on show. The community are sitting and standing in their presence. There is someone in a high chair, and I mean it is high to the point of ludicrousness if this were not part of the local culture. It is like an umpire's seat at a tennis match. They sit and preside, with the aid of a ladder, no doubt, over everything that goes on. Complete with wearing a wig of insect claws that just trails down the outside of her head into a rather bizarre weave of that and silk webbing. Almost conceals her appearance. There is a proclaiming and pacing individual as well. You can take this to be the sheriff, from the fact that he is bristling with weaponry, a blade either side, spikes on his shoulders, a bow slung about his back as well. an Aprikian as well, but speaks very clearly through the bug mask. We should lower our voices for the sheriff. You can see here these three miscreants, the last in before the calm season began. And what did they do? They left Hades' damned seal open. They should have known better, but they did not seal it behind them, and because they left it open, what followed in their wake? But a Hades' damned goo hack, a foaming goo hack that made in, grabbed the daughter of the mayor, and took her away. And we do not need to speak of what befell her after that. The search party found the results of that, and most of you were in that search party. We braved the coming chaos storm to find that girl, and all we found was pieces. It is not for me to level judgment upon these three. I am their captor, but I am not their judge. Ion Lightstep, is their judge. And it is for her to declare judgment once you have heard their story. So it appears the sheriff in this settlement is also the prosecution, and you certainly can't see any kind of individual acting as the defense in this case. The judge calls down, and who are these for?
I make the sign of the Hades tract. Greetings.
Ah, Hadean, the judge calls down. Glorious to see the rightful passage of troubled souls to whatever comes next, if indeed that be my judgment. And are all of you Hadeans? You all seem garbed a little gloriously for that.
No. Only merely dabble. Mostly conversations with my newfound associate here. No, I'm an adherent of the Church of Golthon.
A religion of the surface before it was of the depths. But we do not hold it in ill regard, just it has little place in a place like Mineron.
I mean, whatever rattles your bugs.
Bugs?
I did not misunderstand that, right? She is wearing a wig that is riddled with bugs. Quick question.
I mean, they might be dead, but yes.
Well, I was going to ask, can I talk to them?
She's quite high up, but yeah, sure, if you want to.
I have bug speech, so.
Yes. What do you wish to know from these bugs?
Just, they treat you okay? Everything normal? Anything we should know about? Do I need to run?
There are some living bugs in a wig. Not peaceful. Yeah, they seem actually quite happy. There's a healthy supply of fresh scalp for them to nibble on while they're up there, and the hair is not so greasy they can't make a purchase. It's actually quite a nice place for them to live. They certainly don't seem threatened by dwelling atop a head. You don't think it's a permanent arrangement just during rulings like this.
Awesome. Just wanted to make sure that everything was on the up and up. Glad you're doing well.
Dokoris. Thank you, and you too. Well, outside as you may be, she says, but you may sit in judgment as well, although the judgment ultimately is mine to make. Questions are for the gallery. First, let the defendants speak, even if now is the only time. Names and what you are responsible for. Remember, admissions of guilt will result in lesser punishments if guilty you are found, though if you admit to guilt and innocent you are found, punishments will be more severe, such is the way of Mineron. There is a little confusion there on the stage, but there's a solemn nodding. Okay, yep. So basically, don't admit guilt if we're not guilty. Makes sense. The first one, a Darv on the stage. I be Denius. I have lived in this settlement for 3 cycles of sunflies. I have always found this place to be warm and welcoming and safe. We're not asking for your review of Mineron as a settlement, Denius. We want to know how you came to leave the seal open. I did not, Your Excellency. I did not. I entered with my 2 companions, fresh back from explorations and resource gathering, as you know, as everyone here knows. It is our job to do so. I am a hunter, and we set the seal in place as tradition dictates. And that is all you have to say? That is all. That is the truth. So I'm innocent. And how have you? I am Caroline, a human. I can only echo what Denius said. I was likewise, I am a chaosist. I have lived here for the same amount of time as Denius, for we are a couple. We arrived here as a couple, and I dare say we will leave here as a couple in one way or the other. But we followed all traditions, all rites, all protocols of Mineron when we left and when we arrived, and we would not have breached the seal. There would be no reason for us to do so. We know we have left this place many times and come back many times, and we have never broken tradition yet. Fine, and the last one, a hobgob. Perizig, you recognize the name Chiara. It's Chilzil in nature. And this hobgob has some of those sort of Chilzil features, rather round, large eyes, angular limbs, looks a little out of place here, almost naturally scared of his surroundings. I have only dwelled here for 1 cycle before this one, before this one, and I joined the company of Denius and Caroline and the others in the company who were, of course, lost in this cycle. But I was taught the ways to carry out the traditions and seal the doors, and I was with the group. Speaking in truth, I did not seal the door, but that is not to say that I left it open. It is that I saw my companions seal it because they had more practice than me, or just because there was no need for all 3 of us to do the same. From my memory, Denius passed through first, opened it. I passed through second. Caroline sealed it after us, I think, and Denius checked. I think he certainly checked that the seal was there in place. So my involvement was merely as a bystander. That is not to claim that my companions were responsible for any misdeed or crime, just that I'm innocent. Well, that's your story. And yet somehow through that very same gate, despite you being the last arrivals before the Chaos Storm and before these 4 interlopers, but we will treat them well. She leans over. I understand you came here through a manner of sorcery.
That is correct.
So you have not breached any gates?
No.
No.
We don't even know where the gate is. So
No. Well, still, your stories are your stories. No one else has left. No one else has arrived. You must have left the gate open. Otherwise, the Guhak could not have got in. They lack the intelligence. They lack the calculation. They certainly lack the knowledge of our rituals to access this place without aid. Now, allow the gallery to ask their questions if they must.
I have to interject something here. We saw two Guhak riding a what's the name of it? A steed. Some manner of steed, and they're not supposed to be able to do that. Like, that was what was remarkable. Is there any... I know they're not supposed to have any kind of intelligence, but considering I've witnessed them displaying some, is there no possibility that they breached it themselves?
The three defendants look at you. There's almost pleading look in their eyes, and then they all, almost as one, look up at the judge for her take on that. I welcome your theory.
Is there anything unusual about the chaos level here compared to what I would expect?
No. It is as you would imagine. In fact, because there's a chaos storm raging outside right now, or on the precipice of doing it, I would say it's slightly higher, but not to a degree that troubles you. It is in keeping with the environment of this place.
I would like to make a cunning empathy check to see if anyone in this courtroom is lying. Defendants, sheriff, judge.
All right. Well, empathy and cunning, you can't apply to all of them. So let's see. Who are you targeting right now?
Let's see. Defendant first.
Okay. Basically, you're trying to see... Yeah, you're not going to be able to just tell a lie from truth. The system won't allow that. There'll have to be guesswork. But you'll be able to see if someone is clearly hiding something, if someone is more nervous than someone else, that kind of thing. And for the sake of viewers, this the World Below and basically all story path games don't tend to be games where you can simply detect lies, but you can work toward calculating whether someone is lying or misleading you. So how do you do, Victoria?
Rolling 1 success.
A 1 hit. Okay. The hit tells you that Perzig, the hobgob who spoke last, is certainly more scared than the other two. The reason you pick up for that, again, only 1 hit, is because he isn't... Well, he's not part of the couple. Denius and Caroline are clearly together. And Perzig is a newcomer here, relatively speaking. He's on the outside. He probably knows that if someone ends up having to be blamed, they're not going to blame each other. But that doesn't give you any evidence, unfortunately, on 1 hit. What about Edwin? What is Clag up to right now?
Oh, kind of looking through everything that I can do, and there's not much I can pull off. There is literally nothing that I can pull off to kind of influence this or pick up on or anything like it.
Your character is rather socially awkward. shall we
Yeah.
say?
Yeah. Yeah.
With the few dots you have, but you do have decent intellect. You do have good mental attributes and associated skills.
Can
Remember,
I?
you can always take a wander. You can always investigate the location, see what you can see.
So what would historic technology do? It's an unusual item with a +2 enhancement and a minor complication risk of breaking.
You can basically you make the call. In other words, if you want this to be a lie detector, it's a historic piece of technology. You don't know where it's come from, but you can hook this up to someone and it will do something if someone is lying. We know that lie detectors are fallible, incredibly so, but that may well be what this piece of tech was designed for. It will tell you something. It's up to you. You've got the historic technology. You choose how it's used.
I actually didn't want to use it as a lie detector, but I want to use it with intellect and science to go over the whole story that they're telling. To see if the process that they're using for locking everything up, verifying everything, if that's correct, the way of doing it.
Okay, so essentially you're going to lead by asking them, can you take us through the process you followed?
Yeah.
All right, then. So they take you through the process. It's Caroline who speaks up. Yes, of course. So we read the settlement's sacred words. We pushed the jewels in the correct order. The diamond.
If they say we did it by the correct order and they don't clarify it, I'll ask them to clarify the direct order.
And she does so. So diamond to amethyst to sapphire to emerald. And we know that it changes every 3 cycles, but it has been this way for the last 3 cycles. So that is still the same way, and the judge nods. And once that is done, that opens the door, and to close it, you need to speak the words in reverse with clarity, and press the jewels in reverse. And once you have done so, you will know that the door has sealed because you will hear it seal. It emits a hissing sound when it seals, like a serpent. I remember being taught this, and that is exactly what happened. That is what happens. It sounds to you, Edwin, or rather to Clag, as an alchemist who's somewhat familiar with technology like this isn't hugely advanced. There are things like the Artificers Guild. You can set up mechanical locks, essentially, that will follow this kind of regimented process. To us, the players, it's nothing more than a safe mechanism or a key code on a door, basically. Maybe if you involve the words, there's a password, spoken password, or facial recognition. It's very rudimentary, but it's that kind of process. So the only way you're going to be able to tell if that functions is if you're actually taken to the door. But in theory, that should function. Can you make a technology and intellect roll, please?
Three successes. Three hits.
Okay, 3 hits. Yeah. Not only are you sure that that's how a device like this would function, you are sure that Caroline's confidence in reciting it's practically muscle memory for her as much as it's surface or deep memory. She knows what she's doing. She's done this before. There was no stumbling. There was not even through the nerves of being put on trial. She knows exactly how to work this device, and the judge doesn't call out any fault in her order.
So to take it one step further, seeing as what we know from the little flesh-eating cannibals, intellect and culture, to see if they can be smart enough to memorize it to use it, because the moment they enter from the outside, they need to use the passkey to enter and to lock it, and they need to do it so they can basically lay in wait and see it happening and he'll listen to it.
Yeah, or someone needs to teach them. So yeah, make a culture and intellect roll, please. See how many hits you get. Because surface level, you would have to agree that Guhaks are far too uncivilized. They don't show any capacity for literacy, but that's not to say you have your doubts.
So it was 8, 9, and 10, right?
Yeah, 8s, 9s, and 10s are hits. 10s are 2 hits.
So that's 2, 3, 4, 5 hits.
Ooh, okay.
And that's also using the +2 enhancement for the esoteric technology.
In that case, I think you, whether you can convince other people of this is another matter entirely, you are utterly convinced that you have never encountered a single report of a Guhak who would be capable of learning, memorizing, and most importantly, if they entered and exited with discretion, opening, closing, opening again, closing behind them, if that's what happened, it's just too complex. They are too given over to primitive urges to act in such a way. Even riding the R3, as you saw, and as Mirren quite aptly pointed out, yeah, that shows something's going on, but it's not what it seems. It certainly isn't the case that these Guhak have been able to work a lock, and if they did close it behind them, that is certainly out of keeping with a primitive cannibal's behavior. They are opportunist predators more than anything else. They'll run in, grab, and run back out. They won't run in, lock the door, skulk in the darkness, and wait.
So Clegg will kind of explain that as well. And he'll kind of look at the sheriff and the judge. He's like, is there anyone within the community that would have an intention of causing harm? That has the knowledge of opening and closing the door, but doing it in such a way that and after a time when the other pair, when these three have entered, that the attention would fall upon them, because Guhaks are not smart enough to memorize this to get enter. So it means that someone must have let them in.
The sheriff actually glares at you as you say that. No roll necessary. But you can tell, even through the bug mask, that he's glaring. You are implying that someone in this community would help these cannibals now? That there is some saboteur? There isn't just one of these three up on the stage right now?
Mm-hmm.
I would put it to you, outsider, that the only individual with opportunity to actually do such a thing, who has been outside this settlement more than anyone else to develop such foul, foreign ideas, would be one of these three on trial. So yeah, I would agree with you. There would be sufficient cause and motive, but not from someone who has lived here their entire life and not left Mineron. I would be looking at the three individuals who are on trial right now. Maybe you are right. Maybe it was not just carelessness that led to this door being open. Maybe they did so with intent, which would, and he looks up at the judge, increase the penalty of this crime from simple slaughter to murder with intent.
Oh,
I would like to
Oh.
use Truth Seeker, which is discern. I want to discern. I've got to figure out who my target's going to be,
Mhm.
Oh, I can tell you.
because who should be? Should it be the judge?
No.
Who do you think?
So my suggestion: who here has sign language?
That would be M.
So
Has language.
Yes, but
Yeah.
it's limited. So I can only communicate with other people that are of the Scarab dialect. Dialectics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So
So
because
could,
I
could
have
could I
so
use like some kind of role to narrow it down to somebody who is like seems like who would have a motive? Because this is like a one-shot thing. If we can figure out somebody who has, like, maybe I should reserve it for once we've narrowed it down a little bit.
Yeah, right now you are basically confronted with probably the majority, if not all, of the community is sat out in the audience, and you've got the defendants, and you've got the sheriff, and you've got the judge. You're not going to be able to use Truth Seeker to sweep the crowd, as you point out. You need
Right.
someone in your sights. Now,
So-
that's not to say you can't effectively call for what would, in our world, be a recess and
Right.
get together and share ideas, although
We don't have a
whether
lot of
you've got an
time
idea
now.
yet.
Well,
So-
I was to say, I would ask: do we have the right to examine the evidence? Can we take a look at the door, Judge?
well,
It
I
is
kinda-
it is for the gallery to do as they wish. I will not impose my judgment until the gallery has run out its questions, or until the calm is due to conclude. If the calm concludes and no more, well, and questions are still being asked, then I will interrupt said questions and come to a ruling. We will not let the next season's exploration and resource harvesting be interfered with by this trial.
Can someone?
So-
Oh, go ahead, sir.
why are you interrogating the three of them in public? That two of them
That-
can collaborate their story and adjust where needed be, instead of asking them the questions so that they cannot collaborate.
I'm not sure where you are from, Dalv. What is your settlement?
Oh, I am from a tiny little settlement, Hook.
Oh, the upturned ship. I've heard of it. Well, I don't know how you do things in Erihulk, but here we believe that justice should be administered before the eyes of the people, that doing it behind closed doors leads to corruption, leads to bribery, leads to pleading for mercy and the playing on conscience. Here, everyone's consciences are kept in check, Darth of Erihulk. If I start feeling pangs of guilt for sending these three in exile with no hands, I expect my people to keep me in check. But so in turn, if they start falling to their knees and begging, oh, I cannot treat these three so harshly, or I cannot let them off, then I need to tell them that they are here to perform a role, to keep Minerone in check.
Understood. But to counter that, you could have gotten them one by one in front of you, let them tell the stories, and then see which one was flawed.
I do not see the benefit of that, and it is not your place to discuss how we conduct jurisprudence in Minerone, quite frankly.
Could someone escort us, perhaps, to the door in question, so that we might look for any physical evidence that might have?
Yes, of course. Moral. A figure emerges from a small cavern habitat at the side. Take them to the door, please. Yes, of course.
Before I go with them to the door, I ask one more question. Your Honor, what kind of surveillance does Minerone have on the door?
There is no one watching, for we all feel when it opens and closes. It is part of being attuned to this settlement. It is in the air. We know when it opens. We know when it closes. The fact of the matter is this, other cannibal slayer. We believe that it was open and left open, do we not, people of Minerone? At that, there seems to be some uncertainty. You don't think everyone believes that that is as foolproof as the judge is certainly making out. My point. We know that those three were the last in. And
How
that
do
they
you know?
left the door open.
How do you know they were the last one to be near the door before it opened?
Because no one else arrived. There is no one else here in the settlement. The only other people that could have arrived would be people who absconded with the mayor's daughter, which would be easily narrowed down to Guhak based on the awful treatment that she received.
Who would, okay, I'm just like, Kate, the player's just, my mind's bent, like, who would open the door, safely let Guhawk in, and then let them out and close it again? Who could do that? How would you do that?
I mean,
Either the
not to be a pessimist, but I have people are capable of all sorts of horrendous things if
Yeah.
given the proper motivation.
No, I mean, like, specifically who? Like,
Well,
what kind of power would you be looking for? What kind of person? What would they want from that?
Well, that's why I think that
Kill a specific person.
that's why I think that well, we don't know for sure that that was a specific target either, though, and that's why I think
Right.
that forensically analyzing the door in that immediate region is probably our best bet for getting some of those answers. Because for all we know,
Yeah.
someone let them in just because they're the type of person who likes to watch the world burn, and it just happened to grab the mayor's daughter. Or this could be a very, very, very specifically targeted attack. We also don't know for sure that it's not faked to look like Guhak. I mean, they're easy to blame, right?
Yeah. Can I talk to the person who I have impressed at some point? Like
Yes, one of the guards gives you a wave.
yeah, one of the guys. Like, hello. How are you, friend?
Cannibal Slayer, it is good that you are looking into this. I am sure that with your leadership, justice will certainly be served.
Yes. Oh, of course. I could use that. Do you can you give me the lay of the land? Is there anybody who's a little bit of anybody who likes to watch the world burn around here? Anybody who might want to cause a little chaos?
Minerone is a settlement governed by order. Chaos has very little place here. The sigils ensure that remains the case. When people like you intrude upon the settlement, and I mean that with no disrespect, it is alarming because you have breached the sacred trust of our seal.
And I'm sorry.
But again, no disrespect intended, Cannibal Slayer. You are in a settlement where chaos does not reign. The only things we worry about are the lack of resources on our stratum, that sometimes our harvests are too small to sustain a settlement even of our meager size, and that leads to want, especially during the calm season when we cannot go out and forage and hunt. We are a rare settlement where I would suggest that most of us eat better while exploring and excavating and slaying, and doing as the Templars say, taking from the world so that the world below might provide. Calm season is always a bereft season.
So there's nobody who is discontent. There's nobody who who would have a motive? Who would have a motive for any of this? Because there's always interpersonal stuff. There's always somebody who is less content or doesn't like somebody, or just give me the gossip.
While this conversation is going on, are the other
Yeah.
three of you heading to the door to examine the scene of the crime?
Absolutely. If we can talk and walk, that would be ideal.
Mhm.
My hope is once we are at the door, I would like to try to use orienteering in the hopes of generating some mystical insight into what went on near the door. The basic function just tells me where what chaos level is and the direction and distance to the well. But if I get extra hits, I basically get like bonus investigation.
Yeah.
Extra hits generate clues. So I'm trying to see if I can just like read the door and get at least pointed in the right direction.
Yeah. And so that okay, let's go for that immediately and hope for no chaotic retaliation.
One can hope. So that is a esoterica intellect roll.
Mm-hmm.
Gives me 7 dice.
I mean, you'd be pretty unlucky to get no hits on that.
That is hilarious that you said that, because not only did I get no hits on that, but I in fact got 3 1s.
Excellent. Okay, that always bodes well, doesn't it? Oh no. Oh no. Travis.
The momentum.
I mean, yes, you do have your enhancement from the stratum, although that's only going to come into effect if you use 2 momentum to turn a failure into a success.
What do you think, folks? Should I spend the 2 momentum?
Yes, let's do that.
All right, we'll go ahead and spend the 2 momentum.
All right, so now your enhancements from the chaos level actually come into effect. That does mean you're not going to get nearly enough hits to glean the information magically as you're looking for. Unfortunately, you are able to, as we know, detect things like the chaos level and direction to the well. None of that comes as a huge surprise to you, unfortunately. What you are able to see, and I include Chiara and Clag in this, is a dried bloody smear that leads up to the gate, which is a roughly circular stone in the wall, which is surrounded by sigils. The door is studded with jewels, and Clag, despite the seriousness of the situation, some of these minerals are rare minerals, things you would not find on this stratum, things that you could easily take a chisel or a pickaxe to. I mean, it would be defacing something that is a magical seal, but then anyway, that's just there. I'm just letting you know. But yes, there is a bloody smear that goes up to this gate, and it is, of course, closed, as there is apparently a chaos storm raging outside. So, if you wish to do anything with that, or examine the scene as it appears, the smear doesn't go all the way back into town. It's not like it leads a perfect trail anywhere or anything like that. But while you're looking at that, back to you, MK and Mirren and the guard. Well, I have thought on it, Cannibal Slayer. That is a title that does you that suits you well, I must say. While there are, of course, always grievances and always petty feuds among neighbours, there are in any settlement, I am sure. I think the crucial thing that always plays on my mind is the fact of the poor girl, Helye. She was well loved in this settlement. Certainly there was no one here who would seek her death that I could think of. We have always treated children as valuable as they are, which is to say incredibly so. To have willfully ended her life, I suppose my point, Cannibal Slayer, is that to do that would take such an act of fear or unchecked aggression that I have not seen it. And I patrol this settlement. I see people at their best and at their worst, and no, it seems unbelievable to me that unless someone was pushed to an extreme, that a murder like this, if indeed a murder it is, would take place. Yeah, you are currently muted. Oh no, you're not muted. I can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was she doing something that someone else was supposed to be doing at the time?
No, she's was like most children, if
She's
not
a
more
child.
excitable than others. She was always running around the place, getting into places she shouldn't, you know. She was a hunter in the making. Another 2 years and she would have probably gained her first piece of armor, and another year after that, and she would have been venturing out with others, I am sure.
Is there a chance she was playing
Playing?
around it? Playing, like
Oh,
children.
around the gate, you mean?
Yeah, like how sometimes children play around pools of water and fall in.
Well, we do not allow the children knowledge of how to enter and exit, but
Okay.
she was an intelligent child. It's possible that, further to your friend's questioning about the Guhak, that she could have learned such a thing.
Gosh, I wonder what happened.
Especially with 20 minutes left of this session, looks like we're going to have to do another part at some point, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or are we?
Yeah.
So, unless you just decide, go, fuck it, go with whatever the sheriff and the judge think. We're out of here. The chaos storm's ended. So let's go back to the gate and the other three of you. So you have this scene, and I'll describe it to you. I've already described, you got the stone circular door clad in minerals and jewels and these sigils around the outside. You got this smear of gore that leads up to it that is now dry. The stretches a ways back, but not too deep into town, not enough really to give you the sense of a trail, at least not at face value, unless you really do start doing some digging. There's nothing in the way of heavy objects around here. No one has left bits and pieces of this poor victim for you to just pick through now. But you have been led here by this individual, Moral, who suddenly does a double take. Chiara, isn't it? Yes.
Do I recognize and is this the hobgoblin speaking to me?
This is the guide, someone from your character sheet, in fact, Moral, a monk, a Hadean monk.
Moral, there you are.
I arrived here 2 cycles ago. I have not left. It's been such an interesting settlement. And yes, of course. Well, what fate has decreed, what Hades has wished for, that we would cross paths again here. Most wonderful, most wonderful. Hades
Praise
moves our spirits.
Indeed. So what brings you here to Minerone?
Oh, just on the path. What I was curious about when I arrived, unlike many of the settlements on this stratum, they do not really go for idols and observing eyes to keep the bodies in repose or anything like that. It seems this is a settlement that is about moving on. They have a rather, shall we say, cold approach to death, which I value. When a body has lost its semblance of life, they will allow that body to be consumed by our environment as our rights dictate. And I value it a great deal. I've even established a small shrine. But yes, it struck me as odd, the wailing, the rending of garments, when this girl fell victim to whatever fate had decreed for her. As I say, this settlement has always been so placid and accepting when it comes to morbidity. But I suppose things are always different when it is the young. People develop stronger emotional attachments they're not yet ready to let go.
Indeed. The girl did not yet have the time, the opportunity to explore her afterlife in the world below.
No, I suppose that is it. See, I have missed our council, Chiara, discussing these things. It is an insight that I rarely gain from the people around here, if I'm quite honest. But if I may, he says, pointing at the gate, pointing at the bloody streak. If I may. It was not the mayor who made such fuss, Jarlath. He accepted his daughter's death with sadness but solemnity. He is a true Hadean. It was this settlement judge who was saying, "Oh, what woe, we will not have the body to reconstitute, we will not be able to resurrect." Obviously, I was glad of this, and I expected Ion Lightstep, a fellow Hadean, to be glad of this. We follow our natural path, no? But no, Ion Lightstep, well, we will not have answers. Who left this gate open, and what ill fate befell this girl? Why could we not still have her to bring back, and so on and so forth? Quite out of keeping with the faith, if you ask me.
Was the judge friends with the mayor's daughter? Were they close?
They certainly knew each other. And as settlement elders, then yes, I would suggest that they knew each other very well.
Yes, it's a lot to think about.
But it is good to see you. You will have, if you remain here for the entire calm season, I cannot truly recommend you venture out into the chaos storm, even if they let you. Then you will have to head to my shrine. We can pray on it, meditate on it.
I would love to head to your shrine. See your flock.
It is growing. It is growing. Soon we could call them disciples of Hades with any luck.
I think I will be spending some time in Minerone. It's an interesting settlement, a safe settlement. And if there are any troublemakers, you and I will freeze them. And I wink.
Indeed, that is something I've always valued of you, Chiara. You are always keen to move people on to the next step of life and death's great adventure.
I consider myself a sort of gardener. We have to take care of our afterlife, cultivate it, pull out the weeds.
Indeed. I hear you slew a cannibal. Relieve them of their troubles.
Indeed.
Well, I will leave you to this, but please come find me when you are done. I am not participating in this trial. It is all too petty for my liking.
Well met. I will see you soon, Moro. You are not my creepiest contact.
All right. So how about you, Edwin and Travis, Clag and M? I appreciate we are closing in on the end of our session. We will almost certainly have to do another one. I know. Who knew we're going to be doing another World Below session if we can gather this party again.
Purely tragic.
Yes.
I would like to just rely on some good old-fashioned investigating and see if we can find any leads. I'm not good at it, but I'd like to try it.
What I would like to do next session is skulk around the gate and see if anyone tries to tamper with it again.
All right.
And also, if there's any bugs there, I want to ask them and like what is up. Like,
You're going to ask
what
the
you got?
sunflies.
What'd you see? Yeah. That kind of thing. But also generally just kind of looking over and seeing if I can piece together clues from what has happened here, just visually.
All right. So you're busy interrogating sunflies about what might have happened and looking for bits and pieces visually. Let's go for the bits and pieces visually first. Could I ask for you to make an enigmas and intellect roll, please, Travis?
Yeah, I did. Well, I rolled intellect. I don't know if I have any dots in enigmas. Nope, I have as many dots in enigmas as I did in science, which is what I thought I was rolling. But I still got 3 hits.
Oh, okay, that's good. You're no specialist when it comes to forensics by any means. You feel that this trail of blood, I mean, again, no expert. You think it's been left with some deliberateness. There is no, or deliberation. There is no, the fact that there is no trail elsewhere, it's not like she would have been just plucked from the street, unless she was, but even if she was, there would be, where the trail starts, there is no explosion of gore. There is nothing to imply a sudden death via violent means. There is the start of a trail, an oozing, bloody trail that leads to the gate and then disappears, presumably to the other side. That would imply that blood was let at that point, or poured, or evacuated. But the fact that it just started there and not in some torrent would, imply that at that point she was probably already dead. And this is just the, if we're to be absolutely crude about it, the runoff.
So is it possible then that perhaps she died elsewhere and her body was opened here to create a false trail, basically?
Yeah, that would be a fair assessment.
And that is exactly the kind of behavior that our Guthok friends do not engage in, right?
No, they can create false trails, but it's more likely if they're going to do that, they're trying to lead you into a trap. They're not trying to cover their
more like
traces.
Riding in single file to hide their numbers so we don't.
Yeah, I've heard of
it. Yeah, all right. So I will share that insight with the class and just say, hey, I think this was deliberate, and that doesn't sound like the behaviors of the alleged killers, which leads me to believe. See, the idea of them sneaking in here just seems too damn convenient.
It's an inside job.
Almost certainly.
You just have to figure out who would have the motive to kill a child. Like, that's just I don't mean in a betrayal way. It's just, I know these things happen. Just
do we know how old she is?
Literally who?
She was 11.
My God.
So this is one of two things. Well, one of a few things. Possibly the child witnessed something they weren't supposed to witness. Possibly it is some sort of a attempt to get back at the mayor for something, or we could just have someone who takes a sadistic pleasure in creating pain, who has made their way here during the calm. But whatever the case may be, I think it's fair to say that unless we can tie one of those traits to one of those people in the stocks, we have the wrong folks on trial.
You hear there's a sudden hubbub of noise back in the town square.
Okay. So
Can you describe the
I'm
ruckus?
back.
I don't think
Yes.
it's left.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared to change. Sorry, I am prepared. I'm prepared to change what I said. I remember things differently now. Denius, the dove who spoke first in the stocks. I have come to my senses, and I was trying to protect my friend, but it is. I realize that the nature of the death that occurred means that any pretense at loyalty right now should only be to the settlement, should not be toward someone I have only known for a single cycle. Myself and Caroline, we trusted in Perzeg to seal the gate behind us. That was what we did. We had every reason to do so. Perzeg appeared competent before, and that was our mistake. We trusted in someone who the rest of the settlement trusted until now. Caroline suddenly nods quite vociferously. Yes, that is exactly what occurred. No, it isn't. No, that isn't at all what occurred. It is, Perzeg, and your denials are only going to hurt you and us. It isn't what occurred. I saw you seal it. The two of us against the one of you, Perzeg. Well, says the judge, this was predictable. Factionalism is always predictable. However, this is also what many among the settlement gallery have also discussed. Perzeg is a newcomer. Newcomers forget the rules, they forget the traditions, they make mistakes, sometimes they even work to their own benefit against the settlement. Perzeg, is this what happened? Did you choose to work against us? Did you choose to sabotage us? Did you seek to harm this child? No, I didn't. None of this. I didn't. I never sought to harm anyone. So it was unintentional. Well, yes, I didn't plan for anything. Like I didn't do anything. You didn't seal the gate. No, I've already made it clear. I didn't seal the gate. It wasn't me who sealed the gate. Well, you see, you are constructing the gallows for yourself, Perzeg. No, that's because Caroline and Denius sealed the gate.
At this point, I'm gonna sort of elbow Mira and be like,
I'm gonna. Is it time to use Truth Seeker, or should Niran, like I've got a couple of things I can do. I can either use my leadership to kind of get this under control, or I can use Truth Seeker to figure out on the judge is who I would use. So those are the two things.
This will be the last action of the session, so it's up to you.
oh, see, so I was going to recommend, and obviously do whatever you feel is best, MK, but I was going to recommend using Truth Seeker on the person who is leveling the accusation in the gallows, right? Because if we know that he's telling a lie, then
it's not that I get the attitudes of everybody. I get a web of what does this person believe about everybody else. So
gotcha. Okay.
I'm going to use Truth Seeker on the judge.
All right, empathy and cunning, please.
Okay.
You are not a chaosist, so you have a complication, a moderate complication here. Difficulty is only 1.
So 3 empathy and so I roll 5 dice. So.
Now, if you roll additional hits beyond the difficulty, and well, it's up to you whether you want the complication or not. But if you roll additional hits, you can target additional individuals. So,
So I've got 3 hits.
oh, so you could get one, target the judge, and buy off the complication, or you can target 3 people and suffer a chaotic retaliation in the middle of the community.
Do I have momentum?
There is momentum. Yeah. I think we now have 2 momentum remaining by my count.
If I can use momentum to target 3 people, I would like
Use-
to do that.
Use 2 momentum to do it.
Yeah.
That should get you there.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
at the
let's
beginning of
go
the
for
next session, we will go back up to 4 momentum. So now is the time to burn through.
Yeah, I'll burn through it, and I want the sheriff, I want the judge, and I want the person who is being accused, like the scapegoat.
Okay, so that gives you enough hits to get that and to buy off the complication. So we're down to momentum 0, but that's fine. It's the end of the session. That's the ideal time to do it. You get to now glean bonds and attitudes between characters. So we'll start with the judge, as that was your initial target. The judge clearly has a bond with the sheriff. It is a tight one. It is of trust and companionship. They are probably in each other's pockets and more than that. The attitudes they hold, again, to each other, entirely positive. Toward the suspects, interestingly, even though you may assume that the judge, and this applies to the sheriff as well, would hold the suspects in negative regard based on the accusations, they are utterly neutral, apathetic. They harbor no personal enmity towards these 3 people, despite the nature of their alleged crime. In terms of other individuals in the community, do they hold particular attitudes towards them and bonds towards them? As in, because you've got most of the community here, you're not detecting anything particularly vibrant either way. Their relationship almost entirely seems to be with each other. They don't dislike people in the community, and the same applies to both of them. They clearly hold the settlement in general in some disdain. They consider themselves, perhaps due to their position, as above the others or more deserving than the others. This isn't, of course, unusual for representatives, but you detect that in the overall attitude towards people. It doesn't quite get into negative, but at the same time, they are not warm towards anyone except each other. Now, where that is pertinent, I appreciate I'm spending a lot of time explaining this, is the fact that their only relationship is with each other tells you that they would basically do anything to protect each other as well.
Yeah. Can I
at the expense of others.
Can I stretch it and say, does anybody have an attitude toward the dead child, or do I not know?
The dead child, given that they are not present, yeah, you can't stretch it to that, I'm afraid. There is no valid target there.
You could possibly stretch it to the mayor.
The mayor is not present. That is something none of you have asked. The mayor is not here in the community gathering. And finally, the accused individual on the stage, the one who has suddenly started flapping and protesting their innocence. That was the last one you wanted to look at. nothing but absolute panic, nerves, doesn't know why he is suddenly having everything leveled on him, feels betrayed. His attitude toward Denius and Caroline has now ventured into the negative. May have had bonds with them, positive bonds with them now, but those bonds are now bonds of betrayal. So the bonds still exist, you know, in a mechanical sense, but they are negative bonds, and that is a recent adjustment given what just occurred. While Truth Seeker is never going to tell you if someone is truly innocent or guilty, that isn't, again, as we've established, that isn't what any mechanic in Story Path does. That's ultimately down to player fiat and decisions you make as characters. The overriding feeling you get from Perzig towards these other two is, why are you lying? Why are you betraying me like this? Why are you trying to get me killed? And that is turning into, what have you two got to hide? Which may come from a place of validity, or may just be the casting about of someone who's just been unfairly accused. You don't know that much. It's up to you to calculate to the best of your ability.
So Mirren's just going to, I'm going to try and say, give me a day. Just give me a day. I want to figure out what happened here. Give me a day.
I don't think the sheriff now, of course, but that's why he speaks like this. I don't think we need a day at this point, when it is clear that the other two defendants have named the guilty party. Judge, she adjusts herself in her seat. A day, we will be here all calm season. There is absolutely no reason not to, but do not keep stretching it. Cannibal Slayer.
Of course. Thank you.
A day then. Recess. The three shall be kept in the stocks, fed in public, kept in public. No one is to do them any harm. No one is to question them. No one is to approach them. They are to maintain each other's company. And you three are not to attack each other, even if you are unhappy with recent declarations and accusations. The new four, well, there are now these two habitats that have opened up, so you can stay there. And we will reprise when the sunflies are at their brightest on the morrow. And with that, we will call our session, I think. What is going on in the settlement of Minerone, and are our player characters going to make it better or worse?
Very, very cool.
What's going to make it better?
Make it worse, of course, because it's
We will
chaos.
liberate all the people we need.
Just kill them all. Kill them all.
Right, just
work out.
Crack open the gates and let the chaos into the settlement.
Yeah. So we should wrap up. I appreciate this has been a long session. So thank you so much to my wonderful players. It is always a joy to run games for. Victoria, Travis, Edwin, MK. All of you are an absolute pleasure to run games for.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time and for bringing your characters to this game. Thank you also for showing off different aspects of the world below. These sessions, more than a display of good role-playing, are hopefully a good way of learning how to play games like the world below. And so things like combat, things like chaotic sorcery, those are always going to be the parts of a game that are most complex system-wise, but I hope we've explained them in ways that makes them seem not too overbearing. I'm going to sign off for the group because everyone's already done their promos. to say, please do back the world below. And if you can't afford to back it, please share it. Share it not just on Twitter and Facebook, but share it on other social media places, Tumblr, Instagram, Reddit, wherever you hang, put that campaign. We want more eyes to find it. But most importantly of all, this game was run in aid of the Roll for Wishes campaign for Make-A-Wish, and the link is below and in the chat for you to donate a figure, no matter how small or how large. Any figure is appreciated. So thank you so much, everyone who's watched and listened. We will return at an unconfirmed date to conclude this story, which is currently titled A Question of Judgment. Until then.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Be safe.
Bye.
Get your shots.
Yes, get your shot.